There will be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Please be seated. Honorable members, please give them water. Honorable members, I have been informed that the WIPARI has agreed that there will be no notices of motions or motions without notice. Before I proceed, I would like to announce that I have received a letter of resignation from the Honorable Dr. H.E. Matime as Chief Whip of Council. I want to suggest that as the item for the election of the new Chief Whip is not on the order paper, that we insert it after the item number 4, and that we proceed then to elect the Chief Whip of the Council today still. Thank you, honorable members. I would like to ask the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Voting on Protected Disclosures Amendment Bill, B40B 2015, National Assembly, Section 75.
Thank you. The Honorable Honorable members, you can clearly see it's not my day today. Yeah. Honorable members, I would like to put the question, and the question is that the bill subject to the proposed amendments be agreed to. I shall now proceed to the voting on the question. The members will vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain. Their systems are not working. In that case, the members voting in favor will vote now by show of hands. Okay. Have you finished voting? Can I get the report from the voting? Thank you. Honorable members, those who are voting against, please raise your hands. Can I get the results? Are there any order members, order. Is there any member who is voting to abstain? There is no abstention. Thank you, honorable members. I shall then announce the results as I have received them. The members who have voted for is 25. The members who have voted against is 7. There were no abstentions, and therefore the members who have voted for are in the majority, and therefore I declare the bill subject to the proposed amendments agreed to in terms of Section 75 of the Constitution. I will. Thank you. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Voting on Financial Sector Regulation Bill B34B 2015, National Assembly, Section 75.
Thank you, ma'am. Honorable members, I proceed to put the question, and the question is that the bill, subject to the proposed amendments, be agreed to. Honorable members, shall we proceed with manual, or do you want to go to the electronic version of voting? Yes, Abens. You trust manual? Honorable members, we proceed with manual. Those who we are going manual. Honorable members, those who are in favor. Thank you. Honorable members, those who are against, please. Thank you. Those who are abstaining. Thank you very much. Can I get the results? Honorable members, those who have voted in favor are 28. Those who have voted against are 7. There are no abstentions, and therefore, the majority of members having voted in favor, I therefore declare the bill subject to the proposed amendments agreed to in terms of Section 75 of the Constitution. Thank you very much. The Secretary will read the third and fourth orders of the day.
Consideration of report on Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament, Parliament of Republic of South Africa's 2015-2016 Annual Report. Consideration of report of the Joint Standing Committee on Financial Management of Parliament on the 2016-17 Mid-Year Report of Parliament of the Republic of South Africa.
Thank you, ma'am. The Honorable Mohai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. I'm honored to table the report of the Joint Standing Committee on Financial Management of Parliament before this August House today. As honorable members would recall, in 2009, Parliament passed the legislation, Financial Management of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. Among other key objectives of the legislation is to ensure transparency, accountability, and sound management of the revenue, expenditure, and assets and liabilities of Parliament, ensure consultative relationship between Parliament and National Treasury at the highest level, and also to provide for National Treasury with opportunity to make comments on the proposed annual budget and adjustment budget for Parliament, information on the proposed annual budget and adjustment of Parliament for inclusion in the national budget and adjustment budget, and regular information on expenditure of Parliament. Honorable members, in exercising this oversight, the legislation further provides that the committee must, among others, consider instruction issued by the executive authority in terms of Section 37, consider the annual report submitted to Parliament in terms of Section 60, as well as consider instruction issued by executive authority in terms of relevant sections. It is my submission that this oversight mechanism provides for transparency and accountability of political and financial governance of Parliament, as opposed to supervision of accounting authority of Parliament, as this is clearly the powers and functions of the executive authority. It oversees the implementation of policy and the cost associated therewith, not at a core policy-making body as this resides with the joint rules of Parliament. Against this background and context, the Joint Standing Committee has considered Parliament's 2015 and 16 annual reports and the 2016-17 mid-year report. We are pleased to announce that Parliament has sustained an unqualified audit outcome for 2 successive years. The commitment by the Accounting Authority of Parliament to maintain this clean audit and further improve on some of the internal control and risk management are welcomed by the committee. Madam Chairperson, the support of members of Parliament compared to other national legislatures is a shared concern of the committee and the presiding officers. We have unanimously agreed that this matter must receive urgent attention. We would also recall how the toxic labor relations environment has nearly brought Parliament to a standstill in the recent past. This is among critical issues that the committee have considered through the petition by the organized labor. We should, however, hasten to point out that it is ideally not the mandate of this committee to grapple with labor relations issues as relevant platforms are provided for through other legislative instruments and platforms. There is consensus that the Accounting Authority should give more attention to this matter and report to the Joint Standing Committee. I refer honorable members to the full report as tabled in the ATC. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable members, that concludes the debate. I shall now put the question in respect of the third order. And the question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow provinces an opportunity to make their declarations of votes if they so wish. Is there any province that wishes to make a declaration? The Western Cape?
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chairperson, by the standards Parliament has set themselves, the institution has failed dismally. In terms of Parliament's performance of its 2015-16 program, 37.5% of targets were not met on Program 1, which is administration, 62.5% of targets were not met on Program 2, which is legislation and oversight, 40% of targets were not met in Program 3, which is public participation and international engagement, and 50% of targets were not met on Program 4, which is members' facilities, and 100% of targets were not met on Program 5, associated services. Perhaps, Honorable Chair, some of these failures can be linked to Parliament's vacancy rate, which stood at 20% or 1 in 5 over the period in review. Program 2, which you might recall missed more than 60% of its target, suffered a 13.4% vacancy rate. While this might not sound dramatic, it is a serious problem if you consider that it affects the highly specialized legal advisory and drafting services. The Parliamentary Budget Office, Honorable Chair, the Questions Office, and other similarly skilled units. The effective functioning of Parliament, Honorable Chair, demands that these crucial and overburdened units are adequately staffed and operating maximally. There has also been an astonishing amount of irregular expenditure, amounting to some 15 million over the period in review, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure increased almost 50% on the year. Furthermore, Chairperson, Parliament has increased its advertising costs 28.8% to almost 30 million. Spending on consultants, contractors, and special services increased to almost 24 million. And consulting professional fees related to legal costs increased by a mammoth of 104.3% to almost 15 million. Based on the poor performance across all programs, obvious mismanagement of the parliamentary budget combined with intolerable, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the Western Cape cannot support this report. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other province which wishes to make a declaration? None? None. We shall now proceed to the voting on the question. The heads of delegations will now proceed to vote by pressing in favor, against, or abstain buttons. It doesn't work? We will do it manually. Therefore, I start with the Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, how do you vote? How do you vote?
We support, Chair.
Gauteng? No, it's Free
Gauteng.
State. Tell you move.
Siyaxhasa sihlalo.
Free State, you just voted. Gauteng, I'm having a bad headache.
Chair, thank you.
KwaZulu-Natal,
KwaZulu-Natal in favor.
Limpopo,
Limpopo support.
Mpumalanga,
Mpumalanga agrees.
Noordkap,
Northern Cape agrees.
Noordwes,
Northwest accepts, Chair.
Westkap,
Western Cape disagrees, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, all 9 provinces have voted. Just hold your horses. Order, order. I'm going to repeat myself, Mr. Hatton. I said all 9 provinces have voted. All 9 provinces have voted. 8 provinces have voted in favor. 1 province has voted against. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. I shall now proceed to put the question in respect of the 4th order. And the question is that the report be agreed to. In accordance with Rule 71, I shall first allow the provinces the opportunity to make their declarations of vote if they so wish. Does any province wish to do so? None? We shall then, the Western Cape again. Order, members.
Protection, please.
You are
Honorable Chair.
protected, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chairpersons, it seems that there are no institutions in South Africa that are impervious to state capture, and sadly, the contagion is spreading to Parliament itself. This was self-evident in a series of suspected appointments of senior management level in late 2016, early 2017, including the appointment of the long-serving spokesperson or spin doctor for the ANC caucus, Mr. Mulotho Mutapo, to the position of division manager at Parliamentary Communication Services. Honorable Chair, we also saw the appointment of a former ANC MP, Dumisani Chole, to the position of division manager, international relations and protocol. Mr. Solo is said to have beaten 96 other applicants, despite having been fired as a director of the Alexander Renewal Project for Insubordination. And then there was the appointment of Vusumuzi Mavuso to the position of division manager, member to support services. Mr. Mavusa famously resigned in a half from the SABC board during the portfolio committee meeting at Parliament in October. Are these honestly the best candidates for senior management position at a multi-party institution like Parliament, Honorable Chairperson? Hardly. Then you have the Secretary to Parliament, Mr. Gengezi Mgidlana, who is currently under investigation by the Public Protector for abuse of power. The claims against him relate to overseas joints with his spouse amounting to some 2 million, instructing Parliamentary Protection Services to chauffeur his wife, and making use of state vehicles fitted with blue lights. It was also revealed in committee, Honorable Chairperson, that's protection, please, that the Secretary awarded himself a 30,000 study bursary whilst rejecting application by junior staffers. Despite these extravagances, Parliament employees have been told that there will be no increases this year, further exasperating labor relations at the legislature, which previously resulted in crippling strikes and in September 2016 culminated in a CCMA ruling against the Secretary, which could cost this Parliament as much as 38 million. This is the cost of deploying the wrong people at Parliament. And let us not forget Mr. Mgidlana's role in the totality, unwarranted synchronization of Parliament for the SONA 2017, which saw soldiers carrying assault rifles entering the precinct despite explicit assurances to the contrary. Honorable Chairperson, ultimately the responsibility for this dysfunction at Parliament lies with Mr. Mgidlana's superiors, namely the Speaker of the NA and the Chairperson of the NCOP. The Western Cape opposes this report. Honorable Chairperson, I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other province that wishes to make a declaration? None. I want to hear myself talking to the House, honorable members. None. We shall then proceed to the voting on the question. Heads of delegations, you will vote in favor, against, or abstain. I shall now call upon the provinces, the Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape support, Chair.
the Free State,
Siyavuma sihlalo.
Gauteng,
Gauteng is in favor.
KwaZulu-Natal,
KwaZulu-Natal support.
Limpopo,
Limpopo support.
Mpumalanga,
Mpumalanga concurs.
the Northern Cape,
Northern Cape agrees.
Northwest,
We accept, Chair.
the Western Cape.
Western Cape disagrees.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, order. All 9 provinces have voted. 8 provinces have voted in favor. I therefore declare the report agreed to in terms of Section 65 of the Constitution. Honorable members, earlier on I did propose that we consider an item for the election of the Chief Whip of Council to be inserted after item number 4. Can I proceed? Honorable members, I call for the nomination. The Honorable Dikale.
Thank you, Chairperson. I, Masafako Tlaradi Khali, hereby nominate the Honorable S.J. Muhai as the Chief Whip of the National Council of Provinces. Thank you.
Is there any member seconding? You. Ticket. The Honorable Samka.
Enkosi Sihlalo, igama lika Honorable Muhai ndiyalixhasa into yokuba abe ngu-Chief Whip wale ndlu Enkosi Sihlalo.
Honorable members, I'm coming back to you again and again. Is there anybody who is against the nomination and secondment of the Honorable Muhai in the House? None? If there is nobody who is against the name of the Honorable Muhai, and there is no proposal for any other person, I therefore will proceed to announce the Honorable Muhai as duly elected the Chief Whip of the Council of Provinces. Honorable members, thank you very much. I wish to, first of all, say thank you to Dr. Matime for the services you have rendered, ma'am, to this House. In life, you sometimes meet up with issues which take you to the left and issues which keep you dead center and others that take you elsewhere. Whichever it is, whatever life throws at us, we always, as adults, accept, deal with it, fix, but proceed with the living. Thank you very much, ma'am. I also wish to congratulate the Honorable Muhai for becoming the new Chief Whip. The work is not easy, but we hope, sir, that you will carry the load of serving all the members of this House in equal mint as the Chief Whip of the NCOP. You are welcome, sir. Honorable members, I am also aware that we do have an American delegation in our gallery. It is led by the chairperson of an organization called GOPIO, Mr. Thomas Abrams. You are welcome, sir. I wish to proceed to the next item on the agenda. Secretary, will you read the next item?
Policy debate on budget vote number 23, Police Appropriation Bill B5 2017, and policy debate on budget vote number 20, Independent Police Investigative Directorate Appropriation Bill B5 2017.
Thank you, ma'am. I invite to the podium the Honorable, the Minister, Ndade F.A. Mbalula.
Honorable Chairperson and honorable members of the House, Deputy Minister of Police Bongani Mkongi, members of the Executive Council for Police for Safety and Security, entities of policing in the Republic, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, Civilian Secretariat, Private Security Industry, Regulatory Authority, Directorate for Priority Crimes and Investigation, and the South African Police Service Management. All our important organs, members of Parliament, and the media. I rise before you today to table the police debate on budget vote number 23. As I hereby do, we should also reaffirm our pledge to Agenda 2063, which makes a commitment to the silence the guns in Africa by 2020. This clarion call is made in celebration of Africa Day. Chairperson, in the same context, we continue to be inspired by the words of Oliver Tambo. I quote, "The only way to bring about peace and prosperity is to liquidate all forms of crime and criminality. Crime can never be amended or reformed. It should be fought against and be defeated." Close quote. Chairperson, on this occasion, we recall the great words of former Minister Steve Tshwete, and today he speaks to us from the grave, when he said, "We'll fight criminality and criminals with the ferocity of a cornered bull and the agility of a cat. We are not going to do shortcuts, no short-term planning, no short-term solutions. It is not going to be business as usual. We need warriors in this battle and not cowards and corrupt elements. We need men and women of honor in the police service. We salute all police who passed away. We dip our banner in their name today. We say rest in peace. We'll soldier on with the struggle against criminality in the Republic and keep South Africans safe. Gender-based violence should be fought with all arsenal at our disposal. All our 1,144 police stations nationwide are going to ensure no women are turned back from reporting acts of crime against them. We call upon all women to come forward and report all cases of abuse against them. Soon we'll be taking the launch to every police station. Our approach to fighting crime is going to be intelligence-led and bold. Resources will be redirected towards crime intelligence. The Hawks must bring crime and corruption to its knees. The days of only concentrating on cosmetic crimes and turning blind eye on individuals committing serious white-collar crimes are over. There are many individuals in the society who are known to be committing serious commercial crimes under the protection of few police officials. Their days are numbered, including those police officials providing them with protection. We are not going to tolerate the practice of recycling criminals in our police stations. This is our social contract with the people of South Africa. You can hold us to that. In the past few days, our country had been engulfed by a new scourge and wave of lawlessness. Criminals are running amok in this country, terrorizing our people. We must declare war against crime. We must declare crime as domestic terrorism. Criminals are brutalizing our society with impunity. In the few weeks that we have been in police, we have seen, amongst others, the Nyanga hostage scene, Mandla Sachwayo, Elsis River, 2 police officers shot, brutal killing of Karabo, the missing Flora Muete. The situation is unacceptable. It calls on all of us to respond equally to the fight that criminals are muting on us. As the Minister of Police, we want the country and the world to know that we are declaring war against criminals and criminality. As we move forward, we want to disarm South Africa. Parallel to this program is the recovery of the stolen and robbed vehicles of the police, including the brutal killing of the police. This will not be successful if we lack necessary skills in detective services. We are determined more than ever before to look acutely in the areas of detection rate, counterintelligence, and the reinforcement of informers. We hope this will limit serious crimes against our people, especially crimes like the contract crimes, crimes against women and children. The budget allocation of the IPIT increased from 197.9 million in the financial year 2012 to 2013 to 255.5 million in 2017-2018, at a growth rate of 29%, a significant increase due to implementation of IPIT Act. The independence of the IPIT have been reconfirmed by the rulings of both the North Gauteng High Court and the Constitutional Court in their judgments on the 6th of September and the 4th of December, respectively. As the ministry, we are committed to maintaining and upholding the decisions of our courts. In this financial year, the Firearms License Appeal Board intends to forward proposals that will better manage the spread of firearms and reduce the proliferation of the firearms. In line with the Africa Agenda 2063 to reduce the flow of guns in Africa and ultimately silence the guns in Africa by 2020, the process of the Firearms Appeal Board will be fully supported. The Private Security Industry Regulation Authority is one organ that serves as an oversight of this crucial industry. The current growth in the number of the actively employed security officers from 488,666 during the financial year 31st March 2017 bears testament to the pivotal role the industry continues to play in creating entry-level employment for the majority of South Africans, especially young people and women who are employed in the industry. But the growth of the industry also brings along with its challenges of non-compliance and unfair labor practices. In light of the challenges, the authority is continuously strengthening its stakeholder engagement network. As we look back, we identified the following as key anchors of our roadmap to transform policing in South Africa: establishment of single police service, improvement of the conditions of service of members of SAPS, establish street committees, strengthening our partnership with communities in the fight against crime, increase the human capacity to fight and combat rhino poaching, implementation of the resolutions of the national security structures, and the implementation of the process of protecting national key points. Honorable Chairperson, in order to achieve this, the South African Police Service has been allocated a budget of 87 billion for 2017-18 financial year, which includes a transfer to the Civilian Secretariat for Police of 124.7 million. The back to basics approach to policing is primarily benefiting the visible policing and detective services programs, which are the department's core service delivery programs. These two programs constitute 62 billion or 71.3% of the total budget for this financial year, with a combined personnel count of 140,657 in 2016-17. In enhancing police visibility entails optimizing spending on personnel, vehicles and infrastructure to ensure that the police service is accessible to communities and can make its presence felt. A significant proportion of the department's budget, approximately 76.4% over the median term, is allocated to spending on compensation of employees. The department is developing a plan to expand public order policing to support the implementation of the recommendations of the Marikana Commission of Inquiry. Allocation of 242 million in 2017-18 and 355.8 million in 2018-19 were approved by Cabinet in the 2016 budget for this purpose. This explains the projected increase of 7.9% over the medium term in expenditure in the specialized intervention sub-program in the visible policing program. Towards the end of 2017-18 financial year, and emanating from staffing priorities defined within the department's annual performance plan for 2017-18, adequate human resource capacity will be established at local level with specific focus on the visible policing. In terms of the planned post-allocation criteria of the department for 2017-18 financial year, 81% of all replacement posts will be prioritized towards the recruitment of SAPS Act personnel. This will ensure an improved frontline capability of the department. In addition, the department has prioritized the recruitment of reservists as a force multiplier at local level during 2017-18 financial year. It is envisaged that a total of 26,010 reservists will be appointed. A total of 2.5 billion is allocated over the MTEF period to the administration program to build, upgrade, and maintain police stations. The department plans to build 63 additional police stations over the period. Estimated cost of 588.3 million. An amount of 5.7 billion is allocated over the medium term for transportation equipment, including vehicles, and 4.5 billion is budgeted for fleet maintenance. Honorable Chair, the current biggest challenge faced by SAPS is the trio crimes, or the three most serious crimes in our country, namely car hijacking, robbery residential, and robbery non-residential. A task team in this regard was mandated to develop a national action plan to address trio crimes in the top 20 trio crime clusters, and the plan will be implemented with effect from 1st of April 2017. The key drivers of broad public discontent persisted during 2016-17 and included issues of inadequate access to housing, the provision of basic services, lack of employment opportunities, corruption associated with the allocation of tenders, dissatisfaction with the restructuring of municipal boundaries and economic disparity, including Fees Must Fall, campaign which manifested in peaceful and violent community protest. The violent protest increased by 84.9% as opposed to peaceful protest, which increased by 25.1%. The new public order policy provides direction for a human rights-based approach to dealing with public protection and is supported by the Dangerous Weapons Act. In the State of the Nation address, President Jacob Zuma directed the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster to put measures in place to ensure that any incidents of violent protest are acted upon, investigated, and the perpetrators prosecuted. The SAPS will ensure that dedicated capacity exists to manage public disorder and will integrate with all relevant capabilities in the public and private sectors to ensure that the President's requirements in this regard are met. The department plans to develop a plan to expand public order policing, re-establish units in Cape Town, Durban, and Nelspruit, re-establish 15 dormant units, establish 8 units, and expand public order policing personnel to 8,820 members by 2019-2020. Inspired by the words of Comrade Steve Chwete, our message to criminal elements is unequivocally loud and clear. Operation Washatsotsi.
Thank you, Minister. The Honorable Klimbi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister of Police, Mr. Mbalula, Deputy Minister of Police, Mr. Mkongi, members of the South African Police Service, senior members also of the IPID, VIPs in the gallery, members from different provinces who are here today. Chairperson, thank you very much for presenting this vote number 20 and 23. Chairperson, the NDP states that by 2030, all people in South Africa should feel safe, not fear crime. This is the NDP goal for both SAPS and IPID. One of the MTSF targets are to ensure the South African police reduces the levels of conduct crimes. In respect of conduct crimes on the provincial levels, 3 provinces' conduct crimes decreased in the last financial year, those provinces being Free State, Eastern Cape, and KZN. However, the remaining 6 provinces recorded increases from 6.4% in Limpopo, 3.3% in Gauteng, to the lowest increase of 0.4% in Northwest Province. Gauteng remains the highest crime contributor with 27.7%, followed by the Western Cape with 18.8%. It is clear, Chairperson, that much work still has to be done in Gauteng and the Western Cape to ensure a reduction in conduct crimes, and SAPS has to work more closely with communities in the provinces to ensure overall decrease in conduct crime. In the SONA debate of 2017, the President stated that government is working with the society in fighting social ills that are tearing communities apart, such as drugs and substance abuse. The police will increase visibility policing, building on the successful pattern of deployment utilized during safer festival season campaign. They will also utilize certain specialized capabilities, such as the Tactical Response Team or National Intervention Units, to assist in addressing problematic high crime areas. In the communities experiencing the high crime, there is a need to build stronger partnership with the police to ensure that criminals do not prey on residents. Chairperson, it is clear that ensuring decrease in crime statistics is based on SAPS forming strategic partnerships with communities and building trust with those communities through the establishment of successful community policing forum. Chair, in respect of budget, police service account for 87 billion, as mentioned by the Minister. Over a medium term, the South African Police Service will intensify its implementation of the back to basic strategy to improve police performance and conduct. A total of 2.5 billion will be allocated to department to upgrade and maintain police stations, with a further 10.2 billion to procure and maintain transport equipment. Chairperson, we are pleased with the focus of the budget on equipment, as the Select Committee noted last year that many police stations were experiencing difficulties in respect of insufficient vehicles allocated per province, which had a direct impact on South African police service being able to fulfill their mandate effectively. Chair, SAPS spending focus over the medium term will be focused on the following: professionalization the SAPS through skills development, strengthening of the CJS revamp and modernization program, provision of equipment and training for detectives, purchasing of critical equipment such as bulletproof resistant vests, firearms, ammunition, clothing, mobile police stations, strengthening the resource capacity of public order police units, as mentioned by the Minister. Chairperson, in the Select Committee's interaction with the SAPS on their budget and APPS, the following were raised as key issues for SAPS to focus on going forward. Community policing forums. The department explained that the CPF functionally exists after elections of executive committee. The program must be established in a meeting to engage community. When the CPF has issued impacting the community, they must mobilize the community to address the issues. Active community participation within the crime prevention program. The school involvement in terms of back to basic relates to foot patrols that were implemented. Horse patrols were also implemented in rural areas. Small mobile stations were established in rural areas. The problematic schools received more visits and police presentations. Department's collaboration with other crime prevention structures and municipalities. The SAPS interact with the municipality managers and mayors to establish partnership. The metropolis bring their plans for approval and form part of the SAPS operations. Chairperson, in respect of the IPID, which is vote 20 in front of us today, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate is responsible for ensuring a system of internal and external checks and balance, aim at ensuring that police carry out their duties properly and are held responsible if they fail to do so. IPID experiencing its role by trying to instill a culture of human rights in policing to ensure that police officials are held accountable. The IPID Act gives effect to the provision of Section 2066 of the Constitution, ensuring independent oversight of the SAPS and municipal police. Chair, IPAD budget is 255.5 million. Over the medium term, IPAD will focus on reviewing and amending the IPAD Act of 2011, following a Constitutional Court ruling in September 2016 mentioned by the Minister, in which several sections of the Act were declared inconsistent with Section 2066 of the Constitution. The Directorate will focus on strengthening its existing investigative capacity to improve the quality of investigations and recommendations, and holding outreach and training events to raise awareness of its mandate and act. Due to the limited budget, IPID is experiencing severe capacity constraints which impacting on the following chairperson: integrity strengthening and protection, legal service, contract management, service delivery coverage and accessibility, accounting, compliance and reporting responsibility, strategy and performance monitoring, monitoring the quality of recommendations. Chair, as a result of budget cuts, IPID is unable to conduct full implementation of the Marikana Commission report recommendations. Further, the current ENE excludes legal services, a budget program. This is very concerning, given that IPID requires legal services in order to fulfill its mandate effectively. Chair, despite IPID's capacity and budgetary constraints, it has highlighted the following achievements on a provincial level. Northern Cape policemen have been sentenced to 5 years imprisonment and 5 years suspended in services for the rape of 2 teenagers aged 16 and 14 years old. Gauteng police constable sentenced to 18 years for Bedford View murder. Constable sentenced to 18 years in prison for 3 counts of rape in Makassar, here in the Western Cape. A constable was convicted for murder in KZN and sentenced to 5 years in prison. A warrant officer in Northwest was convicted for murder and sentenced 20 years in prison. Chairperson, these examples provide a good sense of the work which IPID is doing on a provincial level. However, challenges still remain in respect to compliance of SAPS and the NPA with IPID recommendations. In this respect, IPID has reported that the department referred a total of 969 recommendations to SAPS, and these are still 707 recommendations which SAPS has to respond to. In respect of the NPA, IPID forwarded a total of 1,048 referrals to the NPA, of which IPID is awaiting a response to 1,013 of the referrals. To address the non-compliance, IPID is considering entering into a memorandum of understanding with each department respectively. Chairperson, The implementation of IPAD's recommendation is integral to include a culture of accountability and to fight corruption within SAPS. This culture will in turn ensure that the confidence of citizens in South Africa is instilled in the SAPS. This will then go a long way in strengthening relationships between SAPS and the citizens of South Africa in terms of foregoing good partnership in fighting crime going forward. Chair, it is important for IPID to ensure its investigative capacity remain intact in order that it may fulfill its mandate. The establishment of the National Specialized Investigative Team in 2015-2016 has strengthened the Directorate's capacity to investigate cases of systematic corruption. Further, IPID needs to continue to ensure that awareness raising is conducted in order that citizens understand the role of IPID, ensuring oversight over SAPS. In this regard, IPID is intending to conduct 108 community outreach events in each year over the medium term and provide training to officials in 180 out of 1,040 police stations. Hopefully, this community intervention will ensure that citizens who feel dissatisfied with the police officials will come forward to report corruption officials. Chair, despite the serious budgetary constraints under which IPID is implementing its program, it is important to note that IPID is taking steps to ensure that it is still able to fulfill its mandate in the following ways. One, regular monitoring of expenditure of ExCo members, continuous reprioritization of core activities such as investigations, implementation of cost containment measures. However, Chairperson, IPID require assistance and report to implement the following effective: full implementation of the Concord judgment concerning the amendment of the IPID Act, full implementation of the Falam Commission and AGSA recommendation. In conclusion, Chairperson, both SAPS and IPID have an important role to play ensuring that people are and feel safe in South Africa. It is therefore with this in mind that we trust the two organizations will find the common ground to work together to fulfill their mandates and the NDP goals. Most importantly, to ensure a reduction in crime and the rooting out of corruption amongst SAPS officials to restore public confidence and cooperation. Chairperson, umahluko mkhulu phakathi kwamapolisa awayekho phambi ko-1994 kunamapolisa esinawo namhlanje noba imeko zithini zona. Ndiyabonga, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Mikulaikus.
I never miss a good thing. Honorable Chairperson, for the last 3 years I have returned to this podium to criticize the Minister of Police for being the President's capo regime and for turning our police service into a mob. He denied all allegations and laughed off all constructive suggestions with ignorance. Having served his purpose, he reached his end point of usefulness, albeit a bit later for the President than for the country, and was sent on his way. And although I would be the first to say that it was a case of good riddance to see the back of Minister Nhleko in this department, the problem with cabinet reshuffles is that he is no longer accountable for the mess that he oversaw. It would be very unfair for me to hold the new minister accountable for his predecessor's lack of vision.
On the tombstone of his tenure as police minister simply stands accurately, "Here lies a simple man with simple ideas. He did as he was told and he defended it vacuously," which in his case means with his whole mind. I sincerely hope, Honourable Minister, that you will not be more of the same. So allow me to take the liberty to propose a few ideas in which the South African Police Service has, or a few areas rather, in which the South African Police Service has failed to make advances, but which are vital in order to ensure that it functions in such a way that it will actually deal with the issue that is closest to the hearts of the people, their safety. There are three important things that need to be done in order to improve the police service in South Africa. Firstly, we need to ask what it is that we are policing. We need to build capacity to be able to police these matters. And finally, we need to consider a decentralized approach where provinces have more authority in matters of policing. In the first instance, we need to be honest about the strain the criminal justice system is under. For many years, the system has not kept up to date with changes in social dynamics, to such an extent that police are being kept busy with actions that should not constitute crimes, while other crimes go unpunished due to the fact that the process of criminalizing these crimes take too long. Our country sits with a situation where people who commit petty crimes are being jailed by with murderers and rapists, overcrowding our prisons without any efforts being made to rehabilitate them. Instances where alternative punishment measures would suffice, rather. In other instances, people are being jailed for committing crimes that should, in the first instance, not be considered a crime. Minister, I know that the entire criminal justice system does not fall within your department's jurisdiction, but it might be time for yourself and the Minister of Justice to consider the decriminalization of certain offences, as well as the way in which the police deals with these individuals in such a way that it would take unnecessary strain off our criminal justice system and open the opportunities for the SAPs to focus on more serious crimes. Furthermore, we need to build the necessary capacity for the police to do their jobs, not only to protect VIPs. At the present, and I'm sure the Minister is aware of this, the police in some parts of our country lack even the most basic of tools, such as vehicles. However, there is another facet of capacity building that needs just as much attention. In order for us to keep up with the sophisticated crimes targeting specific groups of individuals, the police needs to move quicker with establishing specialized units. Some efforts have been made in the past, but unfortunately not in all the vital areas. In this instance, the department should consider establishing units that will deal with rural safety and gangsterism in specific parts of the country, such as farming communities in the case of the former and the Cape Flats for the latter. And of course, training. Minister, we can be proud of those SAPS members who do their jobs outstandingly, but I have sadly too often come across many police officers who don't even know how to do something as basic as to officiate an affidavit. SAP's training model is not working as it should. I have also in the past expressed concerns about the breakdown of the trust relationship between the service and the public. Too many individuals with criminal records are still linked to the SAPs, and decisive action needs to be taken against such criminals. It is no use to say that you will take on the Tsotsis if you do not take on the Tsotsis in uniform. Having said that, the lack of resources and stereotyping of SAPS members as all being criminal, trigger-happy and ill-disciplined completely breaks down the morale of those SAPS members who do their job. It is those members that we should go the extra mile in retaining before we lose all our vital expertise. Finally, Chairperson, it is perhaps time to look at the possibility of giving more powers in terms of police to honest and effective provincial commissioners and station commanders. More resources and the freedom to adapt their system to what each region needs can only lead to better policing. In this instance, I by no means profess a complete decentralization of the SAPs, but where cities across the country have been allowed to establish their own metro police networks, it has proven to bring down the rate of crime where used effectively. This will enable provinces to establish units that can focus on core challenges unique to specific regions, such as border controls in the Free State and northern provinces, rural policing in northern and central South Africa, gangsterism in the Western and Northern Cape, and sophisticated commercial crimes in our bigger cities and places like Gauteng. It will also open the door to bringing closer cooperation between the political authority of policing, the police itself, and local civilian policing forums. There is no reason other than political reasons, and one does not play politics with the lives of citizens, not to give provinces a bigger stake in the policing of their jurisdiction without diminishing the authority of the National Service. Chairperson, in order to make the police work for our people, we cannot follow a one-size-fits-all model. We cannot continue equipping them poorly with resources and skills, and we cannot lose focus on what the real threats for society's safety is. Once we grasp this, once we are willing to think outside the box and fundamentally reform the old and tired model of policing that has been failing our country over the last few years, can we start building a model that will be able to address the still much too high crime statistics in our country? I might not be as kind in the future, and I wish you well. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Matebula. You are protected, Honourable Matebula. You are protected, ma'am. Proceed.
Okay, thank you. Now, Councillor Chairperson. The Economic Freedom Fighter reject both vote.
Order.
Am I
Honourable
protected,
Manapule,
Chairperson?
don't drown. Please proceed.
The Economic Freedom Fighter reject both vote 23 and vote 20 on police and IPD. South Africa is a country gripped in a crime crisis that the ANC seems not to know how to deal with it. Between 2006 and 2016, there has been a 20% increase in murder rate in this country. As per the last crime statistics, about 51 people were being murdered in South Africa every day. The stats shows that at least 142 women were getting sexually violated in this country every single day, and that this may also be an understatement of the problem, because most cases of sexual violation do not get reported. Most recently, we have all witnessed with horror various incidents of crimes against children, young women, and the elderly who are raped and murdered in this country. In this vein, we call on all members of the EFF and all men in society to stand up and say, no, not in our name. The criminal acts of a few men who must thoroughly condemned by the all in society. We further call upon churches, civil society organizations, and all social structure to lead programs that seek to educate men about the pain they are subjecting society to. We call on all EFF branches across the length and the breadth of this country to be visible activists against the abuse of women and children. While all this is happening, the South African Police Service has no permanent national commissioner, and the one who is acting is embroiled.
Take your seat, Honorable Mhlanga. Please take your seat, ma'am. Honorable Mhlanga, you are on your feet.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
You are rising on what point?
I rise on the point. I want to ask a question to the member on the podium. Is it possible to take a question?
Honorable Matibula, will you take a question?
Next week, you're going to take a question.
She won't, sir. Please continue.
The result is criminals reigning supreme in this country, knowing fully well that chances of being caught are almost zero. The origin of all this problem can be traced down to one man, and his name is Jacob Zuma. In this republic, knowledge that Richard Mdluli wrote to Zuma and told him he will ensure he wins the Mangaung conference in Mdluli could ensure the position of national head of crime intelligence. It is well known fact that Zuma used Clemenza to harass Pravin Gordhan. His main interest has been on marginalizing the security of the state so that they can fight his own senators' battle and protect him from accounting. It was for his reason that Nathi Nhleko harassed McBride at every opportunity because he refused to do their dirty tricks. Mr. Zuma has now captured all institutions tasked with securing the country, and he has ensured that their daily activities have nothing to do with securing the country and everything to do with securing Zuma, the individual. Mr. Mbalula is just an attention-seeking person who has neither the capacity nor intellectual strength needed
Honorable
to turn the
Mathebula.
SAPC around.
Honorable
We reject
Mathebula.
this budget.
Honorable Mathebula, please take your seat. Honorable Makwe, you are on your feet.
Chairperson, I rise on a point of order.
Yes, sir.
It is a
Order. I
general
want to hear
rule.
the point of order.
It is a general rule of Parliament that members of Parliament are appropriately addressed in the House. The Speaker has mentioned at least 3 members of Parliament without using the appropriate way of addressing them, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Mathebula, honorable members of Parliament, all of them, in both houses, will be referred to in this House as honorable. Proceed.
Niyetini, Chairperson, Nakens.
Honorable Ndalani, the MEC for Transport, Safety and Security and Liaison from Limpopo.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson of the House, Honorable Minister, Mr. Mbalula, Deputy Minister, Honorable Bongani Mkongi, Honorable members, entities of policing in the Republic, the Executive Director of IPD, members of the South African Police Services, esteemed guests. Honorable Chairperson, the rising incident of domestic violence in our country is disturbing reality. No part of the country is immune from this madness. As Limpopo, we have also had our fair share of this, with some young girls being killed. Perpetrators have been arrested and other cases are getting investigated. We have not folded our arms with regards to domestic violence cases. While we agree that this is one of those difficult crimes to monitor since it occurs behind closed doors, we are raising awareness to those affected. We are visiting communities throughout the province to raise awareness and reach out to communities with regard to what they must do when experiencing such treatment. We are liaising with the criminal justice system to ensure that when prosecuting on such cases, sentences must send the strong message to would-be abusers at deterrent. Honorable Chairperson, until such time that we have all suspects behind bars, Vuani incidents will always become a concern. However, the fact that court cases are continuing gives us hope that those behind the burning of schools and destruction of public property will face full might of the law. Within the context of addressing community protests in the province, our Premier, Honorable Stanley Chupumatabati, established a priority committee on stability in the province. The committee comprises of the Department of Safety, Security and Liaison as the coordinator, the Department of Education, the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlement and Traditional Affairs, the South African Local Government Association, the South African Police Services, the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, the Home Affairs, the State Security Agency, and both the district and the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders. The main purpose of this committee is to empower all stakeholders dealing with protests through information sharing on how best to deal with protests of these natures. The focus is to how to cap such protests turning into violence, as well as opening a dialogue with aggrieved parties. Honorable Chairperson, as the Limpopo province, we have a high percentage of youth making up our population. This high young population is active in shaping the socio-economic status of the provincial economy. In that regard, we have in the last quarter successfully held a seminar on safety. Some of these issues highlighted in that summit was a need for an ongoing consultative session with the youth in the 5 Limpopo district. The importance of demarcation as a planning tool for service delivery and election was also highlighted. These and others are all aimed at ensuring a safe and secure the social order in Limpopo. Honorable Minister, I fully agree that easy access to alcohol and drugs contribute to high social crimes. To attest to that, we are continuing to patrol problematic areas and ensure that all liquor outlets comply with stipulated trading hours. It is disturbing to know that in all these operations, young people who find themselves on the wrong side of the law are leading the pack. It is just unfortunate that when the law takes its course, our youth takes the rap, leaving thousands of young people with criminal records that bars them from securing meaningful opportunities in the job market. Honorable Chairperson, however, as a measure of engaging our youth to be part of their safer and secure communities, we have successfully incorporated them in our community policing forums as well as community safety forums. With regard to the CPFs and SCFs, let it be noted that we are currently busy with the relaunch aimed at maximizing safety in their locality. During 2016-17, our CPFs and CSFs were receiving stipend and sitting allowance as per crime prevention through environmental design and the provincial CPF policy. The Honorable Minister will be invited to the province to formally launch the Community Safety Forum from the all local and district municipalities on the date to be confirmed between the Office of the MEC and the Minister. That we did in support of Limpopo Development Plan's responsibility to ensure that level of serious and violent crimes are drastically reduced. That is not a payment but an appreciation for volunteering to spend time and own resources to ensure that your community feels safe and secure at all times. We are basically reimbursing volunteers that the costs incur during their crime prevention operations. As an additional incentive, an amount of 4.5 million has been secured to resource CPFs and CSFs operations. The end product continues to be better safety and security through improved policy community relations that has proved to be effective in managing crime. We fully agree with the Minister of Police for having identified 1 police station per province for the pilot implementation of the frontline service delivery project. We believe this will bring back the trust our people were beginning to lose in our police. It will also assist us to check areas that need more emphasis in terms of human relations. Last financial year, we launched a program called Young Civilian on Patrol as Volunteer Program. The program was operationalized through the midterm expenditure framework period. Young people linked to CPFs in all police stations and CSF in all local municipalities will take part in this project. We wanted to remove young people away from the streets. Honorable Chairperson, the intention of the program in the main is to equip young people with the necessary skills for patrolling our streets with the police. We believe that the initiative will be building safer communities in line with the National Development Plan's Vision 2030. We also aim to ensure the implementation of integrated approach towards fighting crime utilizing all the available crime-fighting agencies within our communities. We have increased and squeezed crime and criminal element at problematic areas in the city of Polokwane, and our public now enjoy peace and stability in their own city. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, the terrain of our policing area is at times not friendly to the vehicles we get allocated. However, we are glad to have heard that a total of 3,379 vehicles is getting procured to address the shortage in the provinces. We can only believe Limpopo will also benefit out of this exercise. That will go a long way addressing the challenges of shortage of vehicles. I thank you, Ndakens.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chairperson for Safety and Liaison in the Eastern Cape, the Honourable Peter.
Honorable Chairperson and members, Minister and Deputy Minister, and guests in the gallery. Chairperson, it is always a privilege to participate in the debates of the NCOP. Under ANC government, South Africa has a long-term vision of an equitable society which is clearly defined by the National Development Plan. Our 2030 vision seeks to address the ills of our colonial past in a programmatic way, where government will be working in partnership with organs of civil society so as to strike a deal which seeks to build the future of our country. In essence, Chairperson, the NDP seeks to deepen the people's contract between government and citizens as we continue to build a developmental state. As Eastern Cape, we have a reason to support a people's budget because our province needs adequate deployment of resources, both human and material resources. In the province, we need an accelerated infrastructure delivery initiative, which will create a conducive environment for police to work, and we have vibrant community policing fora, which promotes good working and friendly relationship between police and communities. This refers to CPFs, street committees, and village committees. Chairperson, it is only under ANC government that a budget is used as a tool to build a better life for all, unlike under apartheid government, where a budget was used as a tool of destruction to communities. Under apartheid government, large sums of money were directed to security forces, the then SADF, and the hit squads to follow and eliminate those who were in the forefront of liberation movements. I hope the conservatives and the right-wing elements within the ranks of the DA still remember this destruction. Eastern Cape communities were not exempted to this form of destruction by virtue that the province was also a base of political activism. In 2016, Chairperson, Eastern Cape SAPS has embarked in a process of realigning 27 clusters, which were reduced to 22. And this was a strategy to reorganize the strength of police operations so that they render an effective and efficient service. The recent quarterly crime stats, Chairperson, released by Eastern Cape SAPS show a downward trend with other criminal activities, but murder and car hijackings remain stubborn. Murder, in most cases, is attributed to gangsterism and taxi violence in Port Elizabeth and Mthatha, respectively. Eastern Cape SAPS introduced a strategy to fight gangsterism and drug trafficking in the northern areas of Port Elizabeth because there is a toxic combination between these two. And we hope that this budget will reinforce the rollout of this strategy, which takes a form of multi-party disciplinary teams as it involves many departments. Chairperson, through the intergovernmental relations and the collaboration within government departments, the security cluster must deal with St. Albans Correctional Center. Can somebody give me water? St. Albans Correctional Center in Port Elizabeth and Wellington in Mthatha, in which both centers have become headquarters of gangsterism and taxi violence, respectively, because prisoners in these two centers appear to have a free way of communicating with the outside world. As a result, this results to the elimination of witnesses against some of the gangs who are in prison. Chairperson, thank you. The NDP is emphatic that people must feel safe at home, at work, and they enjoy community life free in their streets, and the children play safe outside. Honorable Chairperson, as we continue to professionalize the police service, every police officer must undergo a training on Domestic Violence Act, because violence against women and children appear to be the most prevalent scourge within our communities. In conclusion, Chairperson, ANC remains a home to a variety of different ideological currents. Hence, we continue to enjoy support and hegemony of nationalists, traditionalists, and socialists. As a result, ANC remains a broad church within society, and no amount of threat will ever distract us from our development trajectory. The theory of development, Chairperson, is explicit that any development path is not an instant exercise, but it is rather an ongoing program which needs to be sustained. Even in the first world countries, development trajectories have never been an event in any case, and therefore, Chairperson, this budget must ensure that police are well-resourced and they act professionally, value their work, serve communities, safeguard lives and property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable Mthethwa.
Chairperson, Honorable Minister Balula, Honorable Deputy Minister Mkongi, Honorable Members, MEC for Limpopo, MEC Limpopo for Police, members of South African Police. Crime has always been an area of concern for the African National Congress. The ANC in 2014 election manifesto committed to the promotion of safer community and giving special attention to fight crime. The ANC noted in its 2012 strategy and tactics that there should be promotion of social cohesion and that there should also be a deliberate collective action to promote a positive role by institution of the family. ANC-led government has consolidated partnership across society to strengthen social cohesion and ensure that our country achieve its value of caring society. In the 2 decades since the transition of democracy and the establishment of a democratic police service, South Africa continues to experience alarming high rate of crime, particularly violent crime. This is evidenced, to instance, by successive increases of crime, increases of crime. In contact crime, especially murder, with a year-of-year comparison highlighting a 4.9% increase for the 2015-2016 financial year. Violence against vulnerable and marginalized groups remains stubbornly high, compromise the ability of these individuals to play an active role in the community and society at large, SAPS continues to ensure that barriers to reporting cases of rape, sexual abuse, and domestic violence are sufficiently addressed to report and minimize secondary victimization. Seemingly, interactable challenges such as gangsterism, drugs, and alcohol abuse, underpinned by increasingly sophisticated and violent organized crime enterprise, have resulted in our community being mired in a cycle of violence and trauma. Despite these challenges, the SAPS has made significant strides in dealing with serious and violent crime. This includes continued emphasis aimed at reducing the number of firearms through focused operations and more stringent application of the implementation of legislation framework for firearm management control. The 2015 study on firearm control and management recognized the need for a multi-approach in dealing with the demand for and the Firearm Control Act and other means for self-defense inherent to address the challenges in the need for ongoing research on the issues of crime and violence to identify the root cause and find solution, as well as a concise strategy to tackle crime and the restructuring of the Central Firearms Registry. It is, however, acceptance that building safe and a resilient community requires a broader focus that extends beyond the pure review of the police. This requires addressing risk factors at all levels of society through deliberations, cooperations, and corroborations among state and non-state actors. The 2016 White Paper on Policy and 2016 White Paper of Safety and Security provide appropriate policy framework for achieving these goals. The White Paper in Policing provide a focused emphasis into areas of responsibility of SAPS, which deals with a professional, modern, and demilitarized police services that is community-centered, accountable, and human rights-based. The premise of the White Paper on Safety and Security in that deliberation, cooperation, and collaboration between departments will enhance policy coherence, providing the basis for building safe and resilient communities through embedding systems and processes that will advance the goals of ensuring the safety of all as the basis for human rights development, improve quality of life, and enhance productivity. The role and responsibility of all key role players are clarified to ensure that departments assume responsibility for safety within their areas of competence. The White Paper also draws on the NDP by advocating for the development of an active citizen to support co-creation of solutions from the ground. The NDP denotes building safer community as a key objective and established the following as the division of the countries by 2030. A recent news event about the killing of our women and children have made headlines. As a society, we should be ashamed that our women and children get murdered at an alarming rate in a post-apartheid South Africa. The South African Police Service play a critical role in protecting and serving the citizens of the Republic. However, the manner in which the investigation over the disappearance of Connie Peters was really an abomination. South African police service must be well-resourced and equipped to tackle this abuse against women and children and conduct investigation in a delicate and required manner. South Africa have taken steps to ensure that there is integrated and effective management of the border environment. The pressure to do so comes from the rapid increase in the number of people and goods that cross borders and need to manage the results, risk, and exploit the opportunity. The risks are multiplied by the rise in transitional crime, conflict, food insecurity. The SNDF had been managed to secure the borderline. Home Affairs has inspectorate that is especially charged with enforcing the Immigration Act, which works closely with SAPS, the State Security Agency, the SANDF, and SARS, the Independent Investigation Directorate. The Directorate exercises its function in accordance with the IPID Act, independently from the SAPS and MPS. The thrust of the work of the Directorate is to investigate serious and priority crimes allegedly committed by members of the SAPS, MPS. These include a greater focus on systematic corruption. The IPID Act enhanced the Directorate investigation capacity and create an opportunity for a strong independent oversight body which will in consequence contribute to the achievement of a police service that operate in line with the spirit of the Constitution. The IPID ultimately goal is to contribute towards the achievement of Vision 2030 as outlined in the National Development Plan, which is that people living in South Africa feel safe and enjoy a community life free of fear. A police service which is trusted by the community means the building of a police service that is professionally serves the community, safeguard lives, and protect without discrimination and respect the right to equity and justice. The IPID strongly manage and skilled investigators contribute towards the realization of the IP strategy, outcome-oriented goals identified for 2013 and 2018 strategic plan period. The other factor that will contribute positively towards the realization of these goals are powers bestowed upon IP investigation as peace officers provided for in the Criminal Procedure Act, Act 51 of 1997. The work of IP takes place within an environment of increased indecent of public protest. These incidents led to an increase in the SAPS, MPS involvement in crowd control management, which in most cases results in unintended consequences. Given the recent events of public protest, it is clear that these actions significantly influence the overall pictures of death as a result of police action. Complaints related to the discharge of official firearm by a police officer and complaint of torture or assault against a police officer in the execution of his or her duties. These developments are likely to further increase pressure on the IPID and its core business as outlined in the IPID Act. The current lack in human resource capacity as the high staff turnover pose a significant threat in the fulfillment of the Directorate legislative mandate and consequently the achievement of its strategic outcome and goals. The mandatory reporting and investigation of serious and priority crimes allegedly committed by members of the SAPS, and the municipal police service has resulted in an increased workload for the Directorate. In order to address the aforesaid pressure and to ensure that the IPID fully complies with the legislative mandate and added report responsibility, additional resource will have to be sourced over the 2013-2018 period. The current economic climate and the allocation of funding might bring about additional challenges in this regard. Nevertheless, the Directorate is committed to deliver on its legislative mandate in order to contribute towards the achievement of the ultimate outcome, namely a police service that is trusted by the community. The ANC supports this budget.
Thank you. Honorable Engelbrecht. Honorable Engelbrecht.
To our new minister, Honorable Chair, we should have a crime-free country. We've got the police, we've got the hawks to fight and prevent crime. And yet a disease of violence has been unleashed against our women and children. While we have a president accused of 783 crimes, failing to uphold and protect the Constitution. So rife has state capture become that it is synonymous with the current ANC government.
Honorable Timunya.
I rise on a point of order.
Yeah.
The Speaker makes an assertion that suggests the President is charged. There are no charges against the President before any court of law. There are no charges as we speak for the President before any court of law. So that is misleading.
Honorable Engelbrecht. Refrain from presenting something that is not factual as a fact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yet even more disturbing is when the state organs created to fight crime, SAPS and IPID, are like dogs fighting over a single bone, a bone of position and power, where Police Commissioner Falane is a suspect and doing everything possible to prevent IPID from continuing its investigation against him. So it's no wonder that we need IPID, an independent organization responsible for investigating complaints against the South African police and municipal police services. In spite of this critical mandate, IPID faces serious budget constraints, which will negatively affect its ability to fulfill its primary mandate of overseeing systemic corruption in fighting police criminality. IPID, as ultimate watchdog, should be free from interference from SAPS. Yet, while women and children are being murdered and raped, SAPS is interfering with the IPID mandate. The unwarranted attack against IPID with the mandate to fight criminality and abuse of power in the police puts IPID in the crossfire. IPID appears to be a lone rider against the corruption, abuse of power, and rape of our resources. It appears that this is about positions that relate to power, money, and control over other people. It is imperative that the people of South Africa trust and believe in the police, and that the leadership is beyond reproach. As head of SAPS, Falane should be an example of a model citizen and allow IPID to conduct a full investigation without interference into, amongst others, circumspect payments like an 80,000 Rand stereo system. Falane's continued refusal to cooperate with IPID is therefore deeply concerning, and the DA reiterates its call for the Acting National Police Commissioner, Khomotso Falane, to be suspended by the police minister. As always, it is the South African public that suffer. While there are police officers involved in underhand dealings that continue to escalate crime, we need to ensure that IPID does not only have an operational, but a financial mandate. However, the sustainability of IPID has been put into question with the current funding at a bare minimum. IPID has been requesting additional funding to complete the critical part of the Farlam Commission. Yet, in a most unfortunate move, 4 million has been moved from its budget baseline to pay for other unfunded expenditures. We must ensure the sustainability and independence of IPID with a sufficient budget to ensure that they remain the super watchdog, winning the war against crime in the ranks of the police and rooting out crooked crops. I thank you.
Thank you. Lilunga lelihloniphekile lalendlu umhlonishwa Kahula.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Members, the Department of Police is one of the most important pillars of our state in ensuring that our hard-earned democracy is efficiently guided. The application and practical implementation of the rule of law rests heavily in the hands of this department, of course, in cooperation with other sister departments in the security cluster. Therefore, the safeguarding of the principles of fairness, impartiality, and protection from abuse of state resources within this department is of utmost importance. It is for this reason and other reasons that the IFP strongly condemns the cooked arrests in the Ngutu local municipality. The IFP views these arrests as abuse of state power by those who are inclined to make the IFP look bad and to intimidate the people of Ngutu so that they could vote in a particular direction. This was a ploy in futility as the IFP scored a resounding victory of winning 14 wards out of 17 wards. The IFP moved from 15 seats and obtained on 3 August 2016 to 19 seats in 2017 yesterday, giving the IFP an outright majority in that municipality. We do wish to applaud the members of the police who were deployed to the Ngutu by-elections yesterday, Honorable Minister, who actually performed their duties fairly without any fear or favor. Honorable Minister, we have actually inherited from your predecessor a department that is fraught with insurmountable challenges of a legacy of managerial instability. This department has moved from one scandal to the other in a litany of criminal and fraudulent activities and allegations by the top echelons of the department. The late former National Commissioner Selebi, may his soul rest in peace, exited unceremoniously after a criminal charge. The former National Commissioner, Honorable Begicele, now Deputy Minister, exited unceremoniously after a corruption scandal. The current Commissioner, Ria Piecha, is on suspension pending final outcomes of the investigations into her ability or inability to hold office. As we speak, the Provincial Commissioner for KwaZulu-Natal, Commissioner Mamunye Ngobeni, is on suspension and has actually been on suspension for close to a year or more on the allegations of corruption. The current acting National Commissioner is involved in an ugly spat with the Director of IPID. This prevailing public spat between the acting National Commissioner and the Director of IPID does not augur well for the safety and security and justice activities of the country. The allegations by IPID that the acting National Commissioner is interfering and tampering with investigations pertaining to his own alleged corruption charges to the extent of threatening witnesses and investigators are matters of serious concern for safety, security, and justice in the country. These matters, Honorable Minister, must be attended to and be resolved speedily. The activities of the department must be seen to be operating in a manner which shows that no one is above the law in the country. In the same vein, the public spat between the Honorable Minister and the former Director of Hawks is another matter of serious concern which requires a speedy and logical conclusion. This is the picture of the department you have inherited, Honorable Minister. One cannot tell whether these happenings have had a direct impact to the crime activities increasing so much in our country, especially the abuse of children and women, the murders of children and women, the escalating hijackings involving cash and transit heists, and other criminal activities. Under the circumstances, Honorable Minister, the IFP wishes you and the Honorable Deputy Minister well in your new portfolios. The fight against crime in South Africa needs all hands on deck by all relevant stakeholders in order for South Africans and our visitors to feel safe and to be safe. When also considering that the consequences of increased crime levels leave behind devastating effects to the economy of the country and the efforts to grow the economy and decrease unemployment, this department has a crucial role to play. Therefore, Honorable Minister, let us not walk into the negative effects of crime blindfolded, but we need you to pull all the punches in order to add value to the positive programs of the country. We need to have a police service personnel that will be focused more into reducing and eliminating crime in our country, and not police top management that most of its time is fighting over departmental internal issues or spends time in court instead of the criminals they should be bringing to book. The IFP has previously engaged your predecessor, Honorable Minister, over the lack of visible and effective policing in townships and rural areas of South Africa. It is a pity that 23 years into our freedom and democracy, policing has still not transformed to move quickly to visible policing in these areas. Another area of concern to the IFP is the not so professional public order policing in our country in dealing with protest actions that turn violent. The country has experienced an increase in the unnecessary loss of life at the hands of the police due to this unprofessional inadequacy in the country. With the number of public protests increasing in our country, it is important that that section of policing be perfected in the department. It is also equally important that the department comes out to clearly clarify as to who qualifies for what protection in the country. Recently, the country has seen increasing instances of complaints about some individuals and private citizens receiving the benefit of state security for which it is claimed they do not qualify. The IFP does wish to applaud our sons and daughters, fathers and mothers, the women and men in blue, especially those who are wholeheartedly dedicated to the service they provide for our country. While there will always be complaints here and there about some issues, as the IFP, we note that the majority of our police personnel are people who are dedicated to the call of their duty. For this, we say bravo. But to those who get involved in criminal activities whilst they are supposed to be stopping them, we call on the department to be swift in removing such potatoes from the pack. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kaula. Honorable Mhlanga.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and the Deputy Minister, honorable members of the legislature, honorable members of the NCOP, guests in the gallery, all protocol observed. I greet you. Honorable Chair, the ANC supported this budget vote. South African states of peace and stability since 1994. Our departure point as the ANC is that South Africa is relevantly stable compared to the many countries of the African continent and the world. Despite our relevant stability, our security assessment identifies economic weaknesses as one of the key threats to the national security. And it threatens because it is at the center of the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. South African economy performance continues to weaken in 2016-2017. The situation was aggravated by the continued sluggish economic growth in major economics. The global economy is facing major headwinds and is struggling to attain higher growth path. The growth trends in the emerging economy is recovering in countries such as China, Brazil, and Russia. Honorable members, peace and stability is maintained within an equal economy environment owing to the country's sluggish GDP growth and persistent contradiction. This is exhibited by the long-standing triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Centrally to those challenges, it is slow economic transformation which continues to undermine the political transformation as realized. The back to basic approach is but one part of the strategic objective of the South African Police Services, which identifies 9 dimensions to improve SAPS performance with regard to the prevention, detecting, and investigation of crime. Key dimensions: 1, the transformation of the police services. 2, the compliance with the fundamental principles of policing. 3, a culture of performance management and accountability. 4, enhanced policy visibility. 5, thorough and responsible investigation. 6, efficient use of resource in support of crime investigation. 7, optimal use of crime intelligence in support of protective and reactive policing. 8, targeted and informed deployment of operation resource and collaboration and consultative approach to policing. Those members will make the South African police services we need in South Africa, and it will make our police services more efficient and responsive. Honorable Chair, activities of the foreign forces seeking to undermine our revolutionary advancement. Foreign intelligence services. There is a concerted effort. Many foreign states and non-state actors who have launched an aggressive onslaught to the former liberational movement in our region. The ANC as a ruling party is not an exception. In addition to the economic weaknesses, our security assessment identified the activities of the foreign intelligence services as an overreaching threat undermining our national security interest. During the past year, they continued their efforts in close collaboration with negative domestic forces to undermine our democratic and constitutional development. The modus operandi of the FIS is through penetration, infiltration, manipulation, ultimately subversion in the quest to advance and monitor and promote their national interest. Those attacks may result in the diversion of governance and possibly that the broad purpose of government will be hijacked by those with ultra-agenda motives. Honorable members, the above-mentioned situation brings threat to the authority of states in terms of the threat to the authority of the states. Our security assessment identifies 7 of them, and those are violent community protest, violent industrial action, instability in the education sector, instability in the transport sector, cybersecurity challenges, undue activities of private security industry, enabling to secure information and critical infrastructure. Although community protests are provided for in the country's legislative framework, of national security concern is the planned violence accompanying the protest. However, since 1994, the trigger of community protest have not changed, and those includes demand for water, electricity, housing, and employment opportunities. Emerging trigger includes the demarcation issues and the demand for free, quality, high education for all. To this end, a national security concern only arises when people plan to be violent during such protest. Chair, we must emphasize that some of us, we participated in liberating the country, and we fought against the oppressive regime. We will remember the days of Waiko, Saiko, when the ANC Youth League was banned. We had Waiko and Saiko, you name them, all these youth formations. We never banned any schools. We never banned any libraries, because we knew that those infrastructure facilities are there for our children and for the future of South Africa. In that note, we are really cautioning our society, our community, the youth, not to misuse the Gathering Act wrong. They must use it correctly. Threats to the well-being and safety of South Africans. In terms of the threats to the well-being and safety of South Africans, our assessment identifies 4 of them, and those are the non-traditional security threats, water, food, and energy. No empty stomach that knows politics. An empty stomach can do anything, can even kill, can even be a mercenary. So where there is no work, where there is no development, there will be crime. Where there is no food security, there will be crime. The second threat element on a human is international terrorism. You will understand when we speak of the international terrorism. Today, we have riots. We have all formations of riots, all so-called MDM structures or foundations that are marching, destabilizing the states, the stability of the states. They are all, of course, funded by the foreign intelligence forces. 4, transitional organized crime, nicotines. These are the key objectives. I heard one member saying the SAPS doesn't know their duty, their work. We define them as the ANC, what they should do. In terms of the organizational crime, a worrying trend is the unprecedented growth of gangs and their activities. They are now fully operational in all provinces through those prevalent in Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, and KwaZulu-Natal. In the transitional crime action, issues of human trafficking, people smuggling, illegal trafficking in and consumption of nicotine remains prevalent in these provinces. In this threat, foreign nationals remain central in the perpetration of those criminal acts. You know, people who are from other countries are not given political asylum in the country, they are in our country. It's easy for them to create crime, they are not documented. It's easy for them to orchestrate crime within our country. We really need to pick up and bring some measures in your Population Controls Act. Chairperson, out of the 9 dimensions above, bullet 1 and 9 brings me closer to the functions of the civilian secretariat and request the minister to speed up the full funding model and a well-resourced infrastructure. The issue of CPF, CSF to be functional. We call on the local municipalities, the provinces to prioritize the public safety matters in their budget. Honorable Minister, our focus should be to put measures and more focus on the collaboration, consultative approach to policing. This system and comprehensive involvement of all relevant stakeholders in all aspects of policing. The Metro Police and municipal law enforcement or municipal policing, as outlined in Government Gazette Notice R209, Part 5 of the schedule. Law enforcement officers are integrated into all interventions in respect of the protection of persons and properties, generally and particularly in the context of land invasion and protest action. Conferring of full powers on them will definitely enhance the state ability to deal effectively with the current sport of such unlawful activities. As we must put more target focus on speeding up the process of finalizing legislative matters, which are Animal Movement Control Bill, which must also be speed up, Critical Information Bill, Firearm Control Amendment Bill, South African Police Amendment Bill, Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorists and Related Activities Amendment Bill. We believe very soon we will be, of course, Minister, dealing with this bill. We believe that your department will be able to speed up the above-mentioned bill. Honorable Chairperson, in conclusion, revolutionary cadres should be cautioned in regard to the theory of liberal, crucial speech of non-conformist who explains their participation in negative terms. No do-goodance that goes under all sort of name, liberals, lifestyles. They urge that they are not responsible for white racism and the country's inhumanity to the society, in particular the black people, working class and the peasants, our masses. Those are the people who claim that they too felt the oppression just accurately as black people. Therefore, they should be joining and involving themselves in the black man's struggle. In short, those are the people who say that they have black soul wrapped up in white skins. Historia in South Africa is crucial. Crucially, the role of the white liberal in the black man's revolution. This question often crossed my mind. They deal with the problem faced by our black leaders who whether they are Africans, Indian or colored, in working within the system being the whole white racist apartheid structure built up by the
Honorable
national...
I'm afraid your time is expired.
Thank you, Chair. We support the budget.
The Honorable Chairperson of the Standing Committee of Community Safety in the Western Cape, Honorable Venga.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. Minister Mbalula has recently taken office and he wish him well in his new portfolio. Safety is something that underpins almost everything that we do, and the police is an integral part of ensuring the safety of our citizens. The Minister mentioned some key anchors in his budget speech, some of which are to be encouraged and some of which to be discouraged. In the first instance, we've seen several policy failures which do need to be addressed. It's then good news that the Community Police Fora policy is going to be reviewed. It's long overdue. The CPF currently operates under the interim regulations of 2001. regulations which have remained interim for almost 2 decades. So it is time that the CPFs be given proper attention and policy guidance, and we thank the Minister for giving this the appropriate attention. We also welcome the reservist recruitment drive, but here again there has been a policy failure in that the reservist policy is too restrictive and it excludes large portions of our population. I believe that by excluding unemployed citizens from volunteering to be reservists, it's unethical and likely unconstitutional. We would be able to recruit far more police reservists than the Minister's target if we were simply to amend the policy. The Civilian Secretariat for Police, which is largely responsible for this kind of policy development, receives a 12% budget increase. Now, considering that the Secretariat relies on provinces to do much of its monitoring, and which as it stands is an unfunded mandate, we hope that the Minister will commit part of this budget to provinces as well. We also welcome the Minister's announcement of 558 million rand for the building of new police stations. The problem, however, is that there will be no new posts allocated for manpower to go to these new stations. We will have to rob Peter to pay Paul and take officers away from existing stations to fill these new ones. So when people ask for more police stations, what they're actually asking for is more policing personnel closer to them. They're not asking for buildings that are half capacitated. My colleague spoke about the need for decentralizing policing, because to centralize policing is to alienate people from local communities, and a reason why the single police service is a bad idea and would be a mistake. The drafters of our constitution intended for a single nationally run police service and locally run municipal police services. The NDP document tells us that South Africa requires a multiplicity of anti-corruption agencies. A multiplicity of agencies provide crucial checks and balances and a system of resilience against interference. The same is true for policing. A variety of agencies is required to provide checks and balances in policing and create the systemic resilience to interference and corruption. Municipal and traffic police should therefore receive greater autonomy and not less. Chairperson, I do not think that the Minister has been entirely upfront with South Africans about this budget. He just said, and I quote, "Adequate human resource capacity will be established at local level with specific focus on the visible policing and detective environment." He also said earlier in the week that visible policing and detective services programs are the department's core service delivery programs. This would lead us to believe that visible policing and the detective services are a priority. But why then are we cutting police personnel in VisPol and in detectives? Over the next 2 years, our police numbers will shrink from 194,000 to 191,000. And all of those posts that are being done away with on levels 1 to 10, and the bulk come exactly from these so-called priority programs, VisPol and detectives. But not to worry, the senior managers, the generals, they will all keep their jobs, and so will the VIP protection services that guard the Minister. The average South African, however, will enjoy less police presence and more crimes to be investigated by less detectives. My counterpart from the Eastern Cape said we need the police to be properly resourced, but unfortunately this budget doesn't do that. Chairperson, we simply cannot cut police numbers. Already 75% of Cape Town's police stations have less number of officers serving their communities than the national average. 21 of our stations in this city have less than 1 officer for every 500 citizens. And all of these areas are crime-ridden communities. But Chairperson, numbers aside, the plan to reduce police numbers will be devastating for the real and lived experiences of South Africans. Policing is a national government function, so how will the national government explain to residents in rural towns such as Toes River or Albertinia where the police are so thinly spread that there's only one officer on duty at the station. Under-resourcing means that CPFs are unable to perform their basic oversight duties and check that detained persons in cells are being treated properly. Why, do you ask? It's because there's no officer to accompany them to the cells. Short of closing the police station completely to assist CPF members, the CPF simply can't do their important and legislative work. In Klapmuts, the solitary police officer on duty was a sitting duck for criminals that robbed the station. He lost his life because his station was under-resourced. What are we going to say to the residents of Lavender Hill, where Steenberg has insufficient personnel to patrol all of its sectors? And the result is that Lavender Hill is the sector that gets neglected, and it's where gangsters are reaping havoc. What will the government tell the residents of Manenberg, where the police station, as I stand here today, has 50 less officers than what it did a decade ago? What are we going to tell the residents of Khayelitsha that already has one of the worst police-to-population ratios in our province? How will the national government explain to the people of the Western Cape that they can expect less officers in coming years? At least Minister Nhleko was going to give us 20 additional posts in the MTF, not reduce posts. The United Nations has a guideline of 220 police officers per 100,000 of the population. Research shows that anything less than this number of officers serving a community means that police have no tangible impact on crime whatsoever because there's not enough manpower. In the Western Cape alone, we have at least 29 areas that have below this 220 threshold, and these are predominantly black township areas. Why is the police department neglecting these areas that need policing the most? In Nyanga, Harare, Guguletu, Khayelitsha, and Mfuleni, there are 2 or less officers per murder per year. These areas combined make up 1/3 of all the murders in our province. Are you telling us that the National Police Department, which has to this point perpetuated apartheid-style deprivation for poor, colored, and black areas, is now ramping up its program to ensure that these communities have even less police resources? It's a disgrace. Police in some cases are so poorly resourced that what is being done to them borders on negligence. The Western Cape has only 1 flying squad to serve our entire province, and the number of officers assigned to this unit has been halved since 2011. We then had 200 officers, we're now down to just 90, which is a 55% reduction. Even our canine unit has half the number of dogs it ought to have. And when we look at detectives, the situation is just as dire. We note that 10 stations in the Western Cape that have the highest proportion of gang-related murders also have detectives that have more than quadruple the detective-to-case docket norm. In Nyanga, detectives work with preposterous caseloads of between 100 and 150 cases per detective, and when they should be working with 20. That is the norm. How can we then be proposing to reduce detective numbers in the MTF? The national government is essentially taking money and manpower away from detectives and investigations, yet keeps an already budget intact for VIP protection to protect politicians instead of prioritizing resources to benefit the vulnerable. There is simply no justifiable reason for this. We cannot prioritize the personnel and posts of VIP security over detectives who will find and prosecute the real and devastating crimes in our communities. What does this budget say about the national government's priorities for citizens who have been a victim of crime and whose matter was not properly investigated because the detective was overburdened with cases? What does it say to families whose loved ones were murdered when no one was convicted in 8 out of 10 cases? What does it say about the dismal 3% conviction rate for gang-related murders? What does it say to women that have been raped? And what does it say to South Africans about the ANC government's priorities for families that live in fear because their homes have been violated? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister of Police, Honorable Mkongi.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, members of the NCOP, our guests, I want to greet you this morning. Today marks 55 days since we were appointed into office by the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. Jacob Zuma. Immediately after our appointment on the 31st March 2017, the President gave us clear marching orders. The following are the marching orders. 1, make the people of South Africa to feel safe at all times. 2, make South Africa a safer place to be and to live in. 3, boost the morale of the police for the better. 4, inspire hope amongst our people. 5, declare war against criminals and criminality in the Republic of South Africa. As we celebrate the centenary of the birth of Oliver Reginald Tambo, we are called upon to intensify our war against crime and criminality. We will contribute meaningfully towards the building of a better South Africa, Africa, and a better world that is free from crime, corruption, and violence against women, children, elderly, and the people living with disabilities. As we mark Africa Day today, we must bring hope to our people. We realized that this command calls for the speedy implementation of the National Development Plan, the back to basics approach, and the resolutions of the African National Congress, our glorious movement. To this end, we took our fight to the doorstep of criminals. We did this through various means, which include the scanning of the crime environment, statistical analysis, stakeholder engagement, and actual invading of criminal hotspots across the country, especially in the Western Cape province. In the last few days, we invaded their comfort zones on the street of Essex River, Pela, Nyanga, Soshanguve, East London, Fort Beaufort, Umqanduli, Umtata, and Umlazi. We did this by undertaking roadblocks, undertaking unannounced visits, and other methods. Honorable members, our energies are very high. Our oomph is growing. Our zest is unstoppable, and our exuberance is unimaginable. We are moving at the pace of the cheetah whilst using the wisdom and tactics of the fish eagle. We will invade all the crime hotspots in our country without neither a search warrant or permission from criminals. We must take the life of criminals and make it unbearable. Honorable Michalakakis, as we have pointed out in the National Assembly on Tuesday, 23 May 2017, that figures presented by Statistics South Africa on crime confirm that significant progress has been made to push back the frontiers of crime and criminality in South Africa during 2011 and 2016, Stats South Africa. Among others, this Statistics South Africa notes that the main challenge is to address the negative perceptions of our people in crime, as they believe that the crime situation has deteriorated over the years. Household crime rate has dropped from 12.1% in 2011 for male-headed households to 7% in 2016. For male-headed households, crime dropped from 10% in 2011 to 6% in 2016. Home robbery in particular dropped from 2.4% in 2010 to 1.1% in 2015. However, the rate of reporting home robbery to the police increased from 57.1% in 2010 to 64.8% in 2015-2016. Police data also show that the total number of home robberies reported as a proportion of population increased between 2011 and 2016. This is not rumor mongering, it is hard facts. We need to intensify our fight against stock theft. In order to address stock theft, we have also ordered the review and rollout of the stock theft project, which was once implemented in the Itsolo area in Eastern Cape. The implementation of this stock theft project follows an integrated and multidisciplinary approach. At the same time, we need to focus on violence. In order to focus on violence, the department will intensify the crime combating strategy through the back to basic approach. The traditional leaders also raised their concerns with us, especially the issues relating to their own securities. A special task team is also looking, among other things, at the physical resource allocation for kingdoms and other areas that are crime-prone, like Samora Machel, Inyanga, and Khayelitsha. We therefore appeal to other sister departments, private sector, and other spheres of government to assist on these strategic initiatives. The national unrest that we see on campuses and universities and in our schools is a cause for concern and need to be attended to immediately. We have begun a process of visiting these institutions of higher learning through the visit to Walter Sisulu University in Umtata, where a last year medicine students have been stabbed and brutally killed. I will be conveying my suggestions and interventions to the Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Mr. Manana, to find the way of intervening in these institutions in bringing law and order to allow the conducive conditions for learning to happen. As part of its response to rampant crimes at institutions of learning, the Minister of Police will convene a national school and campus safety summit to be held on the 12th and 14th July 2017 at the University of the Western Cape in Bellville. The summit is aimed towards creating safe and crime-free learning spaces in our communities. We intend to convene a national youth crime prevention summit.
Honorable Deputy Minister, sorry. Honorable Mikalakis, why are you standing?
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson.
My time, please.
Would the,
No, the time it's, I'm going to attend to the time. Don't worry, Honorable TM.
may I make my
Can you
point?
take your seat, Honorable TM?
Thank you.
Yes, you can make your pen.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson. Is the Deputy Minister prepared to take a question on these stats?
No, order members. Honorable Deputy Minister, are you ready to take a question?
I'm prepared to talk. Let me. What will?
Oh no, Honorable Deputy Minister, are you ready to take a question?
No, next week, maybe when I'm
No,
a
it's
member
not
of the
ready.
NCOP.
Take your seat. Continue, Honorable Deputy Minister.
What will the people of the Western Cape say? Especially people of Nyanga, when the city police does not respond to their cries. When the city police only responds to the cries of white people in the city of Cape Town. What will dying youth in Khayelitsha will say when the province or the provincial government of the Western Cape distributes purely the resources into Sea Point and not to Khayelitsha?
Honorable Deputy Minister, can you take your seat? Honorable Engelbrecht, why are you standing? Honorable Deputy Minister, take your seat. It's working.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm standing on a point of order that the Deputy Minister is lying to this House.
No.
Can I just explain why? Because the Metro Police do enforce bylaws, they do not enforce the Criminal Act.
Order. Honorable, can you take your seat? Honorable members, no, I don't need any assistance. Honorable Engelbrecht, you are out of order. You are debating with the speaker at the podium. We have had your opportunity. Can you continue, Honorable Deputy Minister?
I think I must teach the DAMPs the bylaws of the Western Cape. I was born here, I know them, I read them every day. So if you don't know them, that is not my problem. You must read. You don't read, that is your problem. What will the youth of Mfuleni say when you go around and not...
Honorable Deputy Minister, can you take your seat?
No, no, Chairperson.
No,
he is
Honorable-
not going to tell me to sit down. He's not the chairperson of this house. You are the chairperson.
Honorable, you are out of order. No, you are out of order. Yes. Yeah, but allow me to run the meeting. It's not your responsibility to tell him to take your seat. I've been Order members. Order members. Honorable Deputy Minister, can you take your seat so that I can address him first?
Sure.
No, I'm not recognizing you. I want to address you first. I've been consistently making it a point that he's taking a seat whenever a member is raising a point of order. It's not your responsibility to tell him to sit down. You are out of order. So can you raise your point of order? Don't do that again.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The Honourable Member is directing, speaking to members directly and not through the Chair. And then secondly, he goes and points fingers like he has just done to me. He's not allowed to point his fingers. I know apparently he was brought up somewhere, but this is certainly not the education he got in the Western Cape.
Which rule?
No. Honourable Deputy Minister, can you continue with your speech?
Yes, we have different postures to speak. But in
Honourable
conclusion, Chairperson.
Honourable Deputy Minister.
Okay.
Can you take your seat, Honourable Dlamini?
No, thank you.
Can you
very
take your
much.
seat, Honourable Deputy Minister? Honourable Dlamini?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I'm rising on a point of order. Is it parliamentary that a member to say to a speaker, sit down and shut up and nonsense? That was Honourable Hutton.
Honourable Hutting? Honourable Hutting? Honourable Hutting, I'm addressing you. Have you said what is being said by Honourable Dlamini?
I did not say what she said. What I did say is
Honourable-
sit down and shut up. That's what I said, and I withdraw the shut up.
Honourable Hutting, can you withdraw without conditions?
I withdraw that I said sit down
Honourable
and shut up.
Hutting.
I withdraw.
Honourable Hutting, honourable members, I don't need assistance. Honourable Hutting, can you withdraw without qualifications or conditions? Thank you.
Say that.
Take your seat. Continue, to Honourable Deputy Minister.
Yeah. In conclusion, Chairperson, as we move forward to do our work, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Police, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, Vuta Wesmilo, my support staff, and the people of the Republic of South Africa for giving me
Honourable
this
Deputy
opportunity
Minister.
to present our policy statement
Honourable
to
Deputy
this House.
Minister, can you take your seat? Honourable Hutting.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Earlier today, this chairperson ruled that members should be addressed as honourable and not as anything else, specifically not as comrade.
Honourable Hutting, there's nothing inappropriate that was said by the Deputy Minister. Can you continue, Deputy Minister?
Comrade Vuta, we must collectively say to this House, Siabulela, thank you, and Bayatangi. Thank you very much, comrades.
Honourable Makwebu. Honourable members, before Honourable Makwebu, heckling is allowed, but you can't drown him. We are protected, Honourable Makwebu.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the protection. I really appreciate that. I think I need it. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable Executive, in fact, the Executive Director, Mr. McBride, and our men and women in blue this afternoon, I appreciate the opportunity. Honorable Chairperson, something that unites us as South Africans of all races is the fear of crime. Honorable Minister, just a quick recap. From April to December 2016, this is the statistics, the crime statistics. Just over 9 months, 960,000 serious crimes have been committed in this country. Therefore, on average, it means 3,550 serious crimes are committed in this country per day. Break it down again. It means, therefore, 148 serious crimes are committed per hour. We have a situation. We have a serious problem. We need to be sober about this. We need to really, reflect and see how do we deal with this scourge of serious crimes. And these crimes are not just, contact crimes, but these are, serious crimes that amount to, that they are accompanied by aggravating circumstances, your robbery and hijackings. And therefore, we've got a situation. Now, I heard you, Minister, saying that...
Honorable Mtimunye, why are you standing?
I needed to request to pose a question to the member, Chair.
Honorable Makwebo, are you ready to take a question?
I always meet him, I'll talk tomorrow. I'll take the question tomorrow. Thank you, Chairperson.
No, he's not ready. Continue.
Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, here is my question. Honorable Minister, you have said we have declared a war against crime, and I respect that. But, to declare war is one thing, but what we need is to take that war to the criminals and gain an upper hand. And therefore, with due respect, Minister, the talk that you are talking is tough talk, but with due respect, the talk is cheap. We need to challenge you, Minister, as we welcome you to this difficult, terrain of running our police services, that you need to make difficult decisions. Right now, we've got a situation where the IPID and the subs are at loggerheads. The IPID alleges interference against the investigations that are conducting against the acting National Commissioner, General Patlane. Be that as it may, the investigation must take its course. There should be no interference. We challenge you to look in that matter and make a difficult decision and call Patlane to order, even if it means to suspend him. It cannot be accepted. It is unacceptable that, two institutions, law enforcement institutions, are at loggerheads. That on its own is a symptom of a chaos, and therefore South Africans, can you ask ourselves a question? And here is the question. How can South Africans be safe when men and women that are supposed to support and protect them are at loggerheads? They are toe-to-toe, they're fighting. And we have a minister that needs to take that difficult decision. Deputy Minister, you have spoken about taking orders from the President in the marching orders. With due respect again, orders, if there are orders to be taken, they are founded in our Constitution, not from the President. Therefore, our Constitution enjoins you and other state institutions to make sure that South Africans are safe. The supreme law is the Constitution, not Mr. Zuma. Actually, I'm worried that you're taking, these instructions and orders from Zuma, because Zuma is the president who's compromised, who has corrupt relationships. Somebody must challenge me today. There is a court case where Shabir Sheikh was the accused, and the sitting judge is a decided case where Zuma has been said to have corrupt relationships. So I say this in this house with confidence. We cannot take orders from a man who has got corrupt relationships. We take orders, if we have to take orders, from the Constitution of this land. Honorable Klembe, you have raised serious matters, and I agree with you, sir, that the subs must be capacitated, must be given resources and their vehicles. I accept that. But you speak like an outsider. This is an ANC-led government. This is the problem you have created. Let me remind you, I have written a question to the minister, Mr. Ntlako, not you, Mr. Mbalula, you were not there recently. And here is what I've received. 8,000 vehicles nationally are on the garage, lying somewhere. They are not operational. How do these men and women in blue are able to fight and combat crime? In Eastern Cape alone, 1,500 have been lying there for ages, for more than 3 months. How do you explain that?
Oh, we are out of order.
Honorable Zwane, why are you standing?
I'm standing on a point of order, Chairperson.
Can you raise your point of order?
I just want to know that, to know if Honorable Makwebe would take a glass of water to decrease the temperature. It's too high.
That is not a point of order. You know that is not a point of order. Honorable Makwebe, can
I
you
respect you,
continue?
Honorable Zwane. I would not descend to your chaos, with due respect. In Gauteng, more than 2,000 vehicles as we speak are in the government garage, Minister and Deputy Minister. You need to do something about this. And they have been there for more than 3 months. Now, frankly speaking, how do our men and women who are supposed to fight crime and prevent crime in occurring are able to do that and discharge their constitutional obligations? They need your support. Therefore, these are the issues that you have to deal with, and I wish you good luck. I want to come to Honorable Peter from home. Is he still here? You have also raised an issue, Mr. Honorable Peter, where you said only under ANC government that our lives have been better. Then I want to tell you something. The ANC that we have today is not the ANC that we grew up and learned to respect. The ANC that we have today is not the ANC that we want to look up to. And therefore, you need to look at the areas, our Johannesburg Metro that we're running, Nelson Mandela Bay and Swane, and see the mess that the Democratic Alliance is cleaning. Therefore, it is incorrect to mislead South Africans. The DA is the government that is strong in good governance.
Honorable Makwebe, I'm afraid your time has expired.
Thank you, Chairperson. Appreciate that.
Order, members. Honorable Manopule.
Chairperson and our brand new Chief Whip, Minister and Deputy Minister, NSOP and special delegates, and many in uniform, and ladies and gentlemen. Le ma-Afrika mantle, ha re celebrate letsatsi la rona ya ka ma-Afrika, re tlotlomatsa go nna rona ma-Afrika. As we celebrate the centenary of our strategic and revolutionary leader of this glorious movement of ours, African National Congress, I speak of none but Oliver Reginald Tambo. Paying tribute to his sacrifice and hard work, it is prudent to recall his words when he said, I open quote, "The fight for freedom must go on until it is none, until our country is free, happy and peaceful. As part of the community of men, we cannot rest," close quote. For these wise words to resonate and make meaning to the current epoch while we wage relentless war against crime in our country, in defense of the vulnerable group, which are women and children, by ensuring secure environment for them, we have to root out the demons of gender-based violence in our society. Let me paraphrase the words of our leader, OR, to make it relevant to this current era of ours. I paraphrase, the fight for the safety in our society must go on until it's no more, until our women and children are free, happy, and peaceful. As part of the community of men, we cannot rest. We will be doing that in pursuit towards achieving the NDP objective of building safer communities. While we seek to build a developmental state that cannot be realized without peace and stability, we should keep that in the back of our mind. The issue of crime has also always been in our agenda and a priority. In our document, Ready to Govern, of the ANC states that the first priority in our strategy to combat crime is to understand and address the crime producing and condition that will prevail in our society, close quote. South African Police Service.
Honorable Manopole, can you take a seat? Honorable Manopole, can you take a seat? Honorable Isaac, Why
Thank
are you
you.
standing?
Thank you, Chairperson. I rise on a point of order. Perhaps if you can ask Honorable Monopoly if she can expand on what she just said in the absence of peace and law and order.
Honorable Isaac, you know very well that we are out of order. Can you take your seat? Refrain from doing that. You have a final warning. Continue, Honorable Monopoly.
The vision of SAPS is to create safe and secure environment to all people in South Africa. SAPS is in the security cluster are the first point of entry in the contact crime and criminals. Therefore, it should be well-resourced and capacitated in order for them to be able to be effective and efficient in ensuring that there's a safer community, which is the ANC government envisaged. A total of 87 billion has been allocated to police, and a total of 2.5 billion will be allocated to upgrade and maintain police stations, with a further 10.2 billion to procure and maintain transport equipment, which has been outcry from our community, and it has been seen as a hindrance of combating crime and attending to crime scene timelessly. In the same breath, as we welcome the budget and intention thereof, it is pivotal to make this appeal to the Minister to ensure that as a measures and mechanism the likes of the policy of asset management are implemented to the latter, in the pertaining to the maintenance of those vehicles and should be fully implemented. Don't want to hear that after a month or two that there are some vehicles standing and being under the accident. Under the Civilian Secretariat and Community Policing Forum, when I focus to the Community Policing Forum, the orientation of the police in society of South Africa must be underpinned by the firm commitment in giving effect to values and principles of democratic policing. Central to this is creating an environment that facilitates building sustainable and community support and participation. The posture of the service-oriented SAPS is one that embraces community-centered approach to policing underpinned by integrity and accountability. Key to this is implementation of community education and outreach program to enhance community safety. All this is encapsulated in the white paper of the policing. This white paper in police seeks to integrate the national crime strategy, prevention strategy, building an effective citizenry engagement in long-term coordinated partnership between the police and community. This integral part of sustainable delivery. Hence, the community-oriented policing remains the operating paradigm of South Africa's police service. Delivering this requires SAPS and the community policing forums to forge cooperative partnership to facilitate regular communication and information sharing. In pursuing the ideal, safe and secure environment and developing long-term solutions that are tailor-made to unique safety needs and challenges to disparate communities. The police must continue to build strong working relations with the key sectors such as organized business, civil society, and academia. In addition to the structures such as CPF, other forms of volunteerism such as establishment of street committees should be widely encouraged in various localities as part of crime strategy will be built in safety, healthy communities. I would like to say that the community of Kimberley has already heeded to this call of volunteerism. Wanyatsotsi in Kimberley can be seen as one of the model of volunteerism of fighting crime. Notwithstanding the challenges which were brought to the attention of the Select Committee by Wanyatsotsi and the SAPS in the province, the Select Committee has visited the province to meet the organization together with South African Police Service and the MEC. We believe that the report of the committee will be a great assistance to the Minister and SAPS in monitoring the model of partnership with the CPF, which is key in ensuring that the sense of volunteerism and crime fighting is at hand and at play. The Civilian Secretariat is mandated to perform inter alia the following: providing civilian oversight and the police service through monitoring and evaluating overall police performance, and mobilizing role players, stakeholders, and partnership outside the department through the engagement on crime prevention and other policy matters. It is important for us to understand to what extent the civilian secretariat is making sure that the community participation and partnership were at the center of its work. Furthermore, it is also important to note that it is very little progress on the police for the community policing forum has been made. It has become critical for the Secretariat to finalize the matter of funding of the CPF, the community policing forums, and community safety forums. This is in particular important given high levels of drug usage, gangsterism, particularly in the relation to the youth and domestic violence. A key issue may be that when the communities lose faith in the police, they act on their own and address crime within their communities and then refer as vigilantes. That's one they wanted to label Wanyajoti as vigilantes, whereas they are only poor acting on the issues of voluntarism. This, however, is the direct result of lack of confidence in the police and failure to building community relationship via community policing forums. The Independent Police Investigation Directorate, the budget is 225.5 M. The Directorate focus strength is existing investigative capacity and to improve the quality of investigation and recommendations. Due to a limited budget, the IPAD is experiencing severe capacity constraint, which is impacting on the performance of the Directorate, as a result compromising the quality of its work. As a result of this budget cuts, IPAD is unable to conduct full implementation of Marikana. This is one to also emphasize. I know that the chairperson of the committee have highlighted, but I think it's prudent for us, myself, to reiterate on this matter. To also be put to rest the issue of Marikana, where the other political party said likes to make it their issue of political play football. This is the critical concern as it is rise of those budget constraints to this IPAD. An urgent matter which the IPAD has raised to our committee during the interaction with them, that raised the issue of the building which they occupy, is the fact that the lease has expired. The IPAD requested that the Department of Public Works assist in this regard to ensure that the IPAD has suitable office space. I believe the select committee will step in and assist IPAD in this regard. IPAD has severe capacity constraint, particularly in respect to legal service and including investigation staff and number of offices and instead. Without adequate and financial human resources, IPAD is concerned that it will not be able to effectively fulfill its mandate, and budget of IPAD therefore requires serious considerations in order for them to exercise its oversight role. The select committee should also request the Treasury to look into this matter and how best can it assist this IPAD, this directorate, during the upcoming budget adjustment for them to be able to contribute and to ensuring that all people in South Africa and I feel safe. Chair, let me take this opportunity and raise and address, unfortunately the member of EFF is not here. You see, when you speak to the issues of sexual violence, it's important to acknowledge and understand that the issues of sexual violence which are not reported are multifaceted aspects at play. Others is because of community members or the victim are afraid to go and report because of the society will be sometimes judged that she was the one who asked for it. That's the other thing. The other matters is this. We do acknowledge, and even SAPSEF acknowledged in the previous platform, that there are challenges, that are some rot at an apple which are dealing with, who are painting the whole police service as if all of them are belonging to one bag, saying that the cases will not be attended to. But this matter of sexual violence offenses will be addressed adequately if all of us, all political parties, raise out an awareness, raise out the education to our community members to ensure that should they encounter themselves in the situation of sexual violence, they ensure they go to police station and be able to ensure that they don't tamper with the evidence that are there at play, so that the case can be also be have more grounds for them, the police, to be able to ensure that the perpetrators are convicted. The EFF saying that they're saying they're making a call to the EFF members to go out in the society. It clearly says to this house that they don't have a confidence, and they are not. They have admitted that they are not representing the community at large. That's hence they're only requesting the constituency of them to go out and make a call and be able to represent their members with regards to the issues of sexual offense and gender-based violence. I want to believe that Honorable Engelbrecht, as usual, she always comes with rhetoric, inane statement, but I'm not surprised because it's what is normally done in the committee meetings. Anyway, because of her political party, who are politically bankrupt, who always fail to deal with their racism tendencies in their community, in their party. Currently, there's a tweet that deals with the issue of the Honorable Helen Zille, where they are dealing with the snail pace of addressing it, while the other member, who's an African, her case, who just was supporting and liking the tweet, she was dealt with, whereas the other member, who is the superior, she's not been dealt with. Hence, always when we're dealing with the important issues of crime and the budget, they swing the debate because they have nothing to do and contribute to this budget. They always come with the inane statement.
Honorable Manopole, can you take your seat? Honorable Isaac, why are you standing?
Chairperson, on a point of order and with absolute due respect towards your leadership as the chairperson, the member on the podium is misleading this House and fellow South Africans that are listening to the television, because what she is quoting, with due respect, Chairperson, what she is quoting are not the facts. And the matter is sub judice, and I would ask you as chairperson to rule that the member withdraws what she has said.
Are you done? Honorable members, you have had an opportunity, some of you, to come and participate with the debate. You know what will be out of order. So let's refrain from anything that will compromise the decorum. And we know that, of course, making a statement in the House that you know that it's false, it's out of order. But can you continue, Honorable Manopole?
Chair,
no, there was nothing. You are debating.
The fact is this: we are being updated by their own leader of the party, of the progress of their...
I'm not going to subject it to a debate. I've made a ruling. If you've got a problem with my ruling, there's a procedure to deal with a wrong ruling. Can you continue, Honorable Manopole?
Chairperson, thank you very much. The fact of the matter that we are being updated with the snail pace of their case, that the way they are addressing this issue. Hence, when they have nothing to contribute to the budget, they always talk about our leader. And the case that is something that has nothing to do with their contribution to the budget. But I want to say to our minister that who is resolute, to remain resolute and be able to ensure that he will deliver. And say to Honorable Magube, to remain cool. I saw you were so excited when you were here, and say that I have confidence in our new minister.
Manopole, can you take your seat? Honorable Makwebo, why are you standing?
Well, Chairperson, I'm standing on a point of order. The member, Honorable Manopole, is mispronouncing my surname. I take offense. I am not Magube or Magabe. If she wants to know who I am Vusumzi Magwebo. Xhosa Magwebo. Get that in your thick skull. Thank you.
Yeah, your point of order is sustained. Honorable
Yeah,
Manopole,
yeah,
it's Honorable Makwebo.
Magwebe, yeah, hey, Batswana, mo Setswana ha gona tlhale kwa. This week, ke kopa maitshwarelo. So like I said, we are having confidence in our minister and to be able to deal with this. Relax, chill. The issue of iPad and subs, the minister will be able to deal with it. It's premature for you to be able to make a call to the minister to be able to, for him to suspend without applying his mind, without any facts in front of him, for you to be able to say to him, suspend. The minister will be able to act and who says, we call him voter, you voter, always, he will never fail us as an African National Congress. I would like to say, Comrade Chair, with that, as the ANC, as according to the minister, the priorities that was articulated in the APPs reflects radical transformation and also ensure that they are going to combat crimes in the year of OR Tambo while we deepen the unity amongst our ranks. ANC supports the budget in order for us to take South Africa forward. Motswana o rile matlo go sha mabapi fa re ntse re semeletse go aga setšhaba sa rona le loago re ntse re netefatsa gore bana le basadi le bagolo ba rona ba tlhokomediwa mo loagong le gore gender-based violence should be the name and the call of the past. Re a itse gore bana ba rona le baagi ba rona ba tla netefatsa seo. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Kaula, you are in order. I've referred it to the people to attend to it, the issue of e-translation. Hopefully they will attend it. I now take this opportunity to call the Honorable Minister of Police, Honorable Mbalula.
Thank you very much, Chair. First, it is very unfortunate the honorable member has left of the EFF. She knows that what crimes she has committed. Those are grievous crimes that must lead to serious arrest. One first such crime is the crime of rumor mongering and gossip. You know, when people sit in a beer hall and they say, no, you know Umsholozi, and they speak like as if they know him. Yes, Umsholozi behleli nomdluli izolo. You know, bavumelana ngalento yekwaqeda, you take that thing, you bring it to parliament. I mean, that is gossip and rumor mongering. And you bring it here, not the president, as if we are running a rogue state. When the president deals with issues, he doesn't need you. The president controls by virtue of his position the state security in this country. And you treat the president as though when he's got to meet with anybody within the security arrangement, he must go at night and plot to do certain things. He can do anything. He's the state president. We account to him. He's the commander-in-chief. So you must never deal with the president as if we're dealing with a rogue state. These concepts you have actually nicely coined to define the ideological discourse in the Republic like state capture. And you have made it a buzzword in your poem. People are captured. How does a president who's the state president capture the state? Because he's actually leading the state. The second thing is that we need to understand that why we are taking particular decisions. We are not going to be in a crisis of taking any decision. We'll take decisions, but we take decisions informed by empirical evidence, informed by information before us. So there are no holy cows. Our interest, you must be rest assured, is to bring stability and honor to the police service and to fill up all the vacancies. So there's no issue about that. The fact that people come to parliament and they are called, and when they are here, they defend themselves. They didn't. Police did not rock up here and IP'd in parliament. They were called by you.
Honorable Minister, can you take your seat? Honorable Mpambo Sipugwana.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a question for the Minister. Would the Minister be kind to...
Honorable
Please,
Mpambo,
please,
Honorable
Tafix.
Mpambo,
Please, Tafix.
you can't do that. You have to ascertain whether the Minister is ready to take a question. Honorable Minister, are you ready to take a question? Yeah.
What is the question, honorable member?
Okay, it's ready to take a question?
Thank you very much, Minister, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Minister, in your quest with all the changes that you're bringing into your ministry, your police ministry, I would like to know, would you commit that you will can I be protected, Chairperson?
Honorable Dlamini and Honorable Manopule, you are out of order.
Would you commit, Minister, to capacitate the police in your ministry, in your department, so that with sign language, so that they are able to protect the vulnerable deaf society and communicate with them with sign language when they are raped? Because the reports are saying when they get to the police to report a rape crisis, the police cannot communicate with them in sign language. Would you, Minister, commit to this House and say you will capacitate your police in this regard?
Honorable Minister. We will capacitate the police, but you know your question, I allowed it because it's frivolous. Now, the honorable member. Yes, we are committed to that. We are committed to that and everything. The question of single policing, it's a constitutional mandate. It is a constitutional mandate that our constitution directs that there will be one minister appointed by cabinet, there will be one commissioner appointed by the president, and then there should be single policing that include local government. The problem, you want to create a state here in the Western Cape. So you don't want to subject the local police here to command and control because you want your own state. And that is why you argue for more powers for provinces. You are not genuine, you are disingenuous. So our constitution enhances unitarism. You want a federal state. Go to America if you want that. I mean, we don't have that. We're talking about cooperative governance. That is why when we talk about police and intervention in the Western Cape, we service the people of the Western Cape, whether the ANC have won election in the Western Cape or not. It doesn't matter. This thing that you do, where you service people in the Western Cape that have voted for the DA, you are putting a blind eye to those who have not voted for you. That is racism and utter backwardness when it comes to governance. Governments don't work like that.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Samka.
It is nonsense. Honorable Magwebu, abemveni kwami.
Honorable Magwebu, can you withdraw that part?
Chairperson, I don't know, but I studied English. Where there's no sense, then there's no sense.
Honorable Magwebu, withdraw the part nonsense.
It's simple English. It's not offensive.
I'm not debating with you. I'm requesting you to withdraw.
What's wrong with the word, Chairperson? Help me here.
I'm giving you the last opportunity to withdraw. Honorable Kwebu, can you withdraw?
I withdraw, Chairperson.
Thank you. I do. Continue, Honorable Minister. Honorable Samka.
Yeah. Chairperson, the issue of...
no, Honorable Samka, can you take your seat? Let's allow the Honorable Minister to continue. Continue, Honorable Minister.
I think some of the things, honorable members, you must be aware of diversion. And not just respond to everything which is a diversion. The question of single policing, it is precisely a constitutional mandate. And we are going to implement that, and it will allow society to debate.
Honorable Mikalakis?
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Would the Honourable Minister be willing to take a question on that subject, please?
No. It's not willing. Continue, Honorable Minister. We are not fallacious in our approach to fighting crime. We are clear about the challenges that we face, and we understand the crime situation in the country, and that this over-exaggeration, as though we don't have statistics record at our disposal to understand our approach, I think it is fallacious on the part of those who seek to promote that kind of a sentiment. But I just want to say that there is no altercation between the minister, honorable member of the IFP, and the former head of the Hawks. It is the implementation of the law. But unfortunately, it is in the context of litigation. People have got rights. I can't stop General Clemeza if he wants to go to court and basically think that the courts have not done what is right. He's got all the right to do that. From the point of view of the minister, I take decisions. And the fact that you call IPIT and you call the general to Parliament, it is what Parliament has done. What I see is that you call people to Parliament, but you don't know what to do. And when the people come here, you turn Parliament into a court of law. General Patlani has got rights, the same as IPIT has got right. The minister doesn't take sides. He applies the law. When IPIT write to me and say I must suspend Patlani, I can't just do it in my bed at night and suspend the National Acting Commissioner. I must actually be informed by the law. If I don't do what the law requires, you'll be the first to say that, who advises this minister? I'm running a litigation-prone department. That is why you've got vacancies, because certain, even if in your dream you think you can run this country, you'll still be faced with those challenges. When it comes to the police. Of course, to dream you can be in slumberland and everywhere else. But it's important to dream. So I'm saying that that is the approach we are taking. Lastly, Chair, on the issue of resources, we don't have resources, and this is our approach. Let us use what is at our disposal, because there will never be enough resources. Now, we cannot say, yes, we need more police on the ground. For once, that is the policy of other political parties. Who doesn't need more police on the ground? But we've got competing priorities. But for what we have, we can mitigate and push back crime in the country. And that's what we're doing. And I can tell you that the people you refer to as by the way people, and I don't have generals in the police who are sitting in their offices and they don't understand the ground. These generals, probably you talk about apartheid, your forefathers, but the generals I've got, they know the ground. Today, before I came here, I delivered a police station in Elsie's River, and I'm going back there. Yesterday, I was in Nyanga, and I'm going to be everywhere else. I understand fighting crime, not as a theory or philosophy or an act of intellect. I understand it from the concrete material conditions of our people. I know what our people are faced with, and we cannot do it alone as the police. We need other departments to intervene. We need a multidisciplinary approach. We did not create Cape Flats. They were created by apartheid. It is the democratic state that must destroy Cape Flats so that we can put our people in decent human settlements. When you've got Maraba start in Pretoria under your watch and your coalition, and you've got everything that is an infestation of crime, what do you want us to do? We must do away with informal settlements. We must do away with Cape Flats so that we're able to fight crime. I'm supposed to deliver a police station at Samora Machel, but in Samora Machel, you can't even move with a police vehicle. It is not a place for people to live in. For people to taste democracy, we must change their lives and put them in good human settlements. And this police will not be spared where they are wrong. They should not be spared by you. You are not making us a favor. In fact, you have made very concrete proposals for once in terms of what we need to do and what are the weaknesses in terms of our policing strategy. And we have listened to that and we'll take that to kind from all of our members of parliament And we will infuse that in our plans going forward. We are not going to look at people politically when they make constructive suggestions, but surely beer hall gossip, we can't take it as our plan going forward. We can't. People gossip every day. They even lie about Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs and all of that. But we know that I can deduce from what people have said what is constructive and that need to take our country forward. And we must equally deduce political expediency from the reality of guiding us in terms of what needs to be done. And we thank you for that, honorable members. The task of fighting back crime is not an easy one. But I can guarantee you today, on this day, we are going to win. And we are winning every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to thank our special delegates, our Deputy Minister of the Police, Honorable Mkongi, our Minister, Honorable Mbalula, for availing themselves for this very interesting and informative debate. And that concludes the debate and the business of the day. Honorable members are requested to remain standing until the procession has left the house. The house is adjourned.